15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
With Steph Curry back in the locker room with a strained left hamstring for over half the game, and the Warriors with only 1 day of rest after a tough Game 7. They have captured Game 1 of this Western Conference semifinal series. Final score from the Target Center: Golden State 99 and Minnesota 88.
Warriors prevail. That's the Warriors Radio Network. Thank you for the sound. And this was a gritty one because Steph Curry goes down in the second quarter. Pearl, welcome to the show. It is the Maggie and Perloff Show. And as excited as you could be for the Warriors to steal Game 1, clearly now there's a black cloud hanging over this if you're a Dubs fan, because you're waiting on pins and needles to see what's going on with Steph Curry's hamstring. Steve Kerr said he was crushed. Hamstrings linger.
Yeah.
Steph Curry's 37. I mean, I hate to pile on here, but I think that the championship hopes may have just went up in smoke.
Hamstrings are the worst because you feel like you could go, but you never know when it's going to get a little bit sore again. But I got to tell you, last night was the ultimate example of why team basketball beats individual basketball in the NBA. The Warriors are the Warrior system, and you bring in the Heat culture with Jimmy Butler. I mean, this is old guys passing the ball and winning the games. So they can probably survive a little bit and hope that Steph gets better. Like, it's not done because it is a hamstring injury and he was still running around. He had the injury and scored. So I just think that you see the example of more talented teams going down to just a better team fit. Like, the Warriors know each other so well. Jimmy Butler immediately gets in there and he knows how to play team basketball. So I think that can carry them to some success. Go all the way without Steph? I agree. That sounds too far, but stay alive for a while and hope that Steph gets better. Definitely possible.
Well, listen, they put some pressure on the T-Wolves already. You know, T-Wolves came out pretty flat, tried to make something of it in late in the game, but it was already too little too late. Here's the thing about the Warriors. If you ever could have Steph insurance, you have it with Jimmy Butler. I mean, you made this sort of all-in trade at the deadline because you thought Butler was going to be Robin. Well, now he may have to be Batman, but we've seen before that can get you pretty far. Buddy Hield's been, I would say, a revelation. We all knew he could shoot.
He's the Steph insurance. Forget Jimmy Butler. You have new Steph.
5 for 8 from 3 last night in the second half for Buddy Hield and 22 points and helped bring him home. Draymond Green also had a big first half scoring, and then it kind of reverted back to more just Draymond defensive stuff. They had to put Kuminga and use him a little bit more than they wanted to. But if any team was built to withstand an injury to their star player, I guess you'd say it's the Warriors. I just can't help but think, man, the T-Wolves just gave this one away. You see Steph go down, and how do you not go for the jugular? I mean, yeah, you've had a 6-day rest or 7, whatever it is. You're professional basketball players. Turn it on. We've seen guys do this from half to half. And Anthony Edwards, you know, good fourth quarter, but again, too little, too late. I mean, how do you not try to go for a kill when you see Curry limp off? It's Game 1.
Right.
You just beat the Lakers. Like, you should have all the confidence in the world.
You couldn't hit a three-pointer in the final game against the Lakers, and you couldn't hit a three-pointer in this game because your offense stinks. I mean, how do you describe Chris Finch's offense to somebody who's not watching? Like, the Warriors, obviously, they have this particular system. I feel like the Timberwolves are just try and figure it out on the go, and eventually, hopefully, Anthony Edwards takes the ball in the hole. I just think that there's no consistency because they don't really have a great offense, and they come and go. They hope Naz Reid gets hot. Rudy Gobert is a stiff out there. I just think that there are a lot of systematic problems with the T-Wolves, so that's why they can be amazing. They can beat anybody on a given night.
Right.
But just because they don't seem organized as a team to me. They actually, and I thought that even against the Lakers, I'm like, God, you just really don't know what you're going to get from this team. And I think that's a bad thing. Isn't that a little scary if you're a T-Wolves fan?
Well, definitely. But the other part, you know, everyone talks about Anthony Edwards, and you were in a movie with him. Like, you saw his star power was evident from the moment he stepped into the NBA, right? We know that. But there has been something that has kept him back from really stepping into becoming the face of the league. Part of it is that LeBron and Steph are still playing, so understand that. But I think for Edwards, sometimes there are these sort of inconsistencies in these playoff performances where your head coach is now questioning your effort. Can we hear some Chris Finch sound, please? Manny, he saw Chris Finch, the head coach of the T-Wolves, said he saw the energy dip when the shots weren't going down and called out his star.
I absolutely saw that, and can't have that. It starts with Anthony. I thought he struggled early, and then you could just kind of see the light go out a little bit for a while.
The light go out.
Yeah.
Good grief. There's more. Chris Finch said Edwards had the wrong approach attacking the Warriors.
It was one of those games where he kind of came out with a predetermined mindset of what he was trying to do, and just rather than just playing the game that was in front of him. So,
Didn't want my coach to say that about me and more. This is really where I think message sent, coach. I mean, if you're trying to do this thing where you're sending a message to your star through the media, you do something like this.
What is there to talk about? I mean, you're the leader of the team, and you got to come out and set the tone, in all ways that happens. And if your shot's not going, like you still have to carry the energy, So, I don't think there's, if I got to talk to guys about having the right energy coming into opening second round game, then, we're not on the same page.
Well, there it is.
Well, okay, so
can you call out your star any more than that? I mean, JJ Redick said his team wasn't in championship shape. We killed him for that, or I did. You liked it. What do you think about Chris Finch calling out Anthony Edwards?
Anthony Edwards is 23, just an old NBA. He just out of college. It's kind of sounds like a Coach K or
it
a
does sound a little
hardcore
college. Yeah,
it feels like a college move. And you know what? I think the coach did this intentionally, right? He thinks this might be the best way to motivate Anthony Edwards to make him mad. And I think the thing with Anthony Edwards is he, like you saw Jason Tatum in game one, he will settle for the outside shot. If he, doesn't, he's got to take it to the hole against a Warriors team that has no interior rim protector at all. So I think he's trying to light a fire under him. It's a technique. I mean, it's an approach. Do you think that this is a good approach? Generally, you sounded a bit critical in your introduction to it.
Well, I don't love this. I didn't love it when JJ did it to Luka, so I want to try to be consistent here. However, it's not apples to apples because JJ Redick and Luka have been together for a couple months. Chris Finch does know his star. I think he does understand what makes Anthony Edwards tick. They've been together for a lot longer, but I do also believe because Edwards came out and said, listen, I didn't think anything was wrong. I think we all just didn't play well. So clearly he wasn't, he was taking accountability kind of, but just said we didn't play well. He didn't think, and didn't really acknowledge that it was like a spirit or energy or whatever thing. And I think if they lose this series somehow to the Warriors without Steph Curry, then I think Chris Finch is probably getting fired. I mean, you go out on a limb like this and you call out a star player, you just got to really hope it works because the coaches in the NBA are the first ones to get crucified. They're their cheapest mistake. They're the cheapest move that you can make to reset a franchise. It's like that in every sport. So you got to know what you're doing here. Either he's going to light the fire under Anthony Edwards or he's going to burn the building down.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're right. Anthony Edwards could be there a lot longer than Chris Finch. You said that one thing about Anthony Edwards has not stepped out. I mean, he is definitely a postseason achiever. Let's not get it wrong. Like, he took a Minnesota T-Wolves team that had no right to be in the Western Conference Finals there last year at 22, and he, as an underdog, just whooped the Lakers. So this is one game that he's played bad. That's one thing about him. He's much better in the playoffs.
But see, that team, I don't want it to go back to the old business, but I don't know. That team was a good team. Anthony Edwards, you had Karl Anthony Towns as a number 1 overall pick. Rudy Gobert's a 4-time defensive player of the year. I know you don't like his game. I'm just saying you looked at the roster and it wasn't, a bunch of scrubs out there.
Show me one person who thought that Minnesota Timberwolves were getting to the conference finals last year. They were way ahead of schedule.
Well, I thought it was more of a shock, actually, that the Mavs got there. So,
they were down 20 points in Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
They had no right to be there. They played the defending champions. That was a shock last year.
Well, there was a bet that somebody thought they were going to get there because Maggie had to eat green Jell-O. So somebody clearly thought they were going to
That was the bet?
Yeah.
About the T-Wolves Nugget series?
Yeah.
It's
So
funny.
anyway,
That
you.
ended
Also,
so
okay,
badly
so-
for me. I almost forgot what the bet was.
And
What a
everyone-
horrible day that was.
Most people picked the Lakers over the T-Wolves. I did. I mean, that was kind of a narrative. Everybody said, "Oh, the Lakers are going to be." The Timberwolves are not supposed to be this good. He's definitely a playoff performer. He's a clutch performer. He's actually much more inconsistent in the regular season. You never know what you're going to get. Like the T-Wolves were a huge disappointment this year.
But he made more threes than anyone in the league this year.
Yeah,
And
but
then
you
went
can't
really cold in
possibly
this
say
game.
that he's like a playoff disappointment.
Listen, I'm not
Yeah.
killing the guy. Like, I'm not. No, listen, we're so early in his career. We haven't built up the scar tissue of like 6 years, 7 years. Where he's exiting earlier than we think he's going to, or something like that.
He has not exited at all. He's stayed alive.
Okay,
Much longer than we thought.
Well, I'm just talking about what has really prevented him from really becoming the face of the league when it was right there for him last year, right?
Well, I mean, that
it's been
team-
there for him, and he hasn't been able to exactly snatch it yet. Maybe it's some off the court stuff, which like gets a little weird. We've seen a couple text messages that are a little dicey. We know just a little bit more about his personal life.
I'm the truth.
A lot of relationships and stuff. Nothing criminal, but just some stuff that seems a little weird. Because he's right on the cusp.
But what has stopped him from grabbing him? That team was not, first of all, his team around him is just definitely not that good. There's no way you can look at this roster around him and say, you're talking about guys like Naz Reid, who's playing really well, but he's not exactly a household name. Rudy Gobert, in the year 2025, we all know he's a detriment. I mean, everybody knows that. I know he had this big game 5, but he is not a guy that NBA value. They overvalued him when they paid him that contract. I think that's clear. Did you see Draymond Green looked so comfortable last night? He looked like he was in a hot bath playing against Rudy Gobert because he's such
Weird
a
image.
non-factor throughout the game. So I don't think Anthony Edwards failed to snatch anything. Did you watch the Netflix special about Anthony Edwards? It was like following 5 NBA guys.
Yeah.
It was. They followed LeBron around all game and some Jimmy Butler. And then they're like, and then some, at the end of the first episode, they had this trailer. They're like, something new is coming to the NBA. And then they just had this incredibly cool montage of Anthony Edwards saying, I'm not afraid of LeBron at all.
Right.
And then he got into the first round and he took it to LeBron's chest.
Yeah.
He is on the ascent still. There's no failure to grab anything. He's 23. He is, first of all, you don't win in the NBA until you're 27. He is fine. And I guess Chris Finch, I think, is trying to get him mad. And I don't mind that because I think they are already in a little bit of trouble in the series.
Well, okay. I mean, listen, let's say, just even for argument's sake, you lose this series to the Warriors with Steph Curry sidelined or severely limited with a lingering hamstring issue.
Right.
You don't think that would be considered a disappointment?
It'd be a disappointment, but nobody, if you look at any prediction of this NBA playoffs, the T-Wolves were not being talked about. What were they? What are they, the 6th seed or something?
Yeah, but see, isn't that that's when you really know, I think, that a guy has ascended to become like borderline face of the league, is when you actually think they have a chance no matter what.
Yeah, but I don't think the Timberwolves were giving that message this year. They definitely had an off season. They talk about it. They're like, we were a mess early in the season.
Well, they decided to trade away Karl Anthony Towns, right?
Yeah, I know. It was considered a bad trade.
Well, and it happened pretty close to the season too.
But now it looks like then after the first round, we're like, oh, well, Dante DiVincenzo's a winner. He's the right attitude. That's what they need. And Randall played very well Julius Randle played very well against the Lakers. So everyone came back on that trade. But
not as much last night for Randall. But I mean,
Edwards is 23, Maggie. You're putting way too much pressure for him to be something that he can't be. Jimmy Butler has been there, done that. He's so experienced. Draymond's been there, done that. I think this T-Wolves team looks young, and they don't know I don't think they have a plan right now.
I guess I'm not trying to be unfair to him. I'm trying to put the bar where it needs to be for somebody who is this gifted, who is this confident. I mean, if you ask Anthony Edwards, right, he wants to take out everybody, right? He wants to be the star killer or the legend killer or whatever he calls himself, who stole it from Randy Orton. Whatever that is. And so I don't remember anyone ever calling out LeBron's effort in a playoff series. Yeah, you might not have liked early in his career passing the ball late in games, making the right basketball play. But effort, energy, spirit, I mean, no. And this isn't the fans calling him out. This isn't the media calling him out. It's his own coach. And yeah, maybe it's a tactic and maybe it's a mind game and a head game, and that's all fine. But the reality is it actually happened We actually saw a team that was on more rest, taking on a team that should have been, still kind of woozy from a 7-game series against the Rockets that the Warriors just got through. And then the best shooter in the world leaves 13 minutes of playing time in the first half. Door open, gift handed. Better and guys who are really killers take that opportunity and they shove it down somebody's throat. Edwards didn't do that. So I don't think it's unfair to call him out today because his own coach did it. I mean,
honestly, it's not a fair fight. He must be looking at that Warriors team and be like, man, I wish I was on that team. They are just so much. They play such better team basketball.
But he's the best player in the series, right?
Yeah. But this is the NBA. I mean, honestly, I think if we learn anything in the second round, like these high usage, 30 shots a game guys, you don't know what you're going to get. Like, obviously, you saw Donovan Mitchell last night scored 50 points. And
he was so good.
Was he? Because the rest of the team sat around and watched him, and like that's what, then you see the Warriors are flipping it around, and you see Buddy Hield getting open. I don't know. I'm sick of these guys taking 35 shots a game. I want to see the Warriors go all the way just to prove to people team basketball can still win. But, Buddy Hield is playing very much within the Warriors system, and he looks amazing. He's making everybody better. Draymond's making everybody better. There's Anthony Edwards is kind of on an island on that team. I just don't see that as a great team, and I think that's very important. People lose sight of that.
888-710-4ISN. What'd you think of Anthony Edwards last night? His coach called him out. I don't know if anyone did get a chance to see the game last night. I know everyone's schedule's weird. We're on early in the morning here, but coach called out the effort. And then on the flip side, for all of our Warriors faithful out in the Bay, where's the panic right now? I don't know how much people were fully bought into this being a championship season, but the Jimmy Butler thing, it looked way different after he arrived. So I think you started to let yourself believe a little bit.
Definitely, yeah.
And now Steph leaves with a hamstring injury, and it feels like the window, door, whatever is shut.
Yeah.
Just closed. But they won last night.
But I don't think either of us are shutting the door. Because I'll tell you right now.
I am.
You can't shut the door because, well, you can if you'd like to shut the door. But
I'm shutting it.
They can clearly survive this series without Curry. That they made that evident last night. And you get the Thunder and the Nuggets. This is the NBA. People get injured on all the teams. Jimmy Butler carried a bunch of G Leaguers to the finals in Miami. So I'm hoping for Warriors fans that they just survive long enough to get a healthier Steph. Say they get to the conference finals. That could be 15 days from now. It's not, I can't, no door shutting here.
Okay.
Don't shut the door.
Shutting the door.
Don't shut the door.
Question, are you shutting the door? Question mark. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. Say good morning to everyone watching on YouTube and Twitch. Sirius XM channel 375. We've got a new channel. Feels so good, too. Move around a little bit. A little elbow room. 375. We upgraded. You can also listen to us on the free Odyssey app, which is crystal clear. Back in a minute.
I'm the truth.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. Manny, you were just giving us some important information here about the NBA. What was that exactly?
Yeah, this song, Anthony Edwards was singing it in his Adidas commercial.
Oh,
I love
okay.
that commercial for whatever reason. It's just him and his buddy just singing in the car as they try to get out of the player's garage.
I can't tell. Anthony Edwards is unlike any NBA star I've ever seen. He is so not serious most of the time. Like, he's such a goofball around the court and, like, his public image. And he walked around, after they beat the Lakers, he walked around the outside of the stadium talking trash to people.
Yeah.
But he's a killer on the court. But last night he wasn't a killer. He's not like anybody. I think he is a unicorn, just hard to figure out for me. And he's only 23. People forget that. He's definitely got a lot to learn. I'm just not sure. I love him. I think he's the best. But I'm not sure, does he have that Kobe Bryant killer instinct? Where is he on the killer scale? It's interesting. Because he went right head to head with LeBron and said, I don't care who you are, I'm going to take it to you.
Right. And then now it's like you get the either emotional kind of letdown here. Game one, your home court. Steph Curry gets injured in the second quarter. You got to win that game. I'm sorry. You know, I'm not trying to make it a 1 versus 5. No. And your point is good that the Warriors play this team basketball that's very different, and they've got, you know, Hield making shots, and they've got Butler who has all this experience. But you're talking about the same sentence as Kobe Bryant, okay?
Yeah,
one of the most
Kobe had to learn to win.
Killers that we've seen.
Yeah,
and on the court, and you know, instead Anthony Edwards is getting his effort called out by his head coach last night.
Kobe Bryant would have cut half the players on the T-Wolves in real time for the missed threes. Like the missed threes, what are we doing here? At a certain point, doesn't coach have to step in and say, what are the numbers? Like they missed the most threes in NBA history last week that's since been surpassed. And what did they start out last night from three-point line? Like it felt like
they finished 5 for 29.
They started 0 for 15 on threes in the
Yeah,
first
I mean,
half.
at a certain point, the coach has got to get in there and say, you know what, you guys cannot shoot from three. We got to stop. I know we were 4th in the league and made threes this year, but they needed to adjust, and they did not. I think it's lazy. This three-point shooting is just totally lazy, and I put that on Edwards too, but the rest of the guys are just as culpable.
As a team, 5 for 29, as I believe you just said, 17% from three for the Timberwolves last night.
That's 2 in a row. And
Edwards was 1 for 5.
They need to the Warriors, who's blocking your shot with the Warriors? Nobody. Take the ball to the hole. Then the problem is the Warriors will hit your threes to your twos, and that's another problem.
Yeah, then the math's not mathing. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Yes.
That's a good transition to Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah, Benedict Mathurin, who obviously for the Pacers, who again, we get another steal of a win, and now it's 2-0 for Indiana, won both games in Cleveland. And this one was one of the physical nature of this. I was actually watching the game with no sound on. And so it looked like EJ's beloved WWE, where guys would get down they'd be hacking each other and on the ground, like writhing around, except for this is real. Sorry.
Don't say that.
This is a little bit different.
Scripted,
No.
Not real, not fake, scripted.
Pardon.
No. There's nothing real about the NBA. When a guy goes down, that's 75% acting, right?
Well,
That
I mean,
was a big
Struz came out with a
slapping
bloody
meat.
nose.
Yeah, no, I know. The one time that Struz got a fingernail to his lip and whatever. Generally, though, these guys are acting just as much as WWE.
Yes. From the man who brought you My Pinky Hurts, let me call out the NBA players for being soft.
Oh,
No.
my God. Well, they're acting like, come on.
I
Okay,
get
but
it, but
whatever.
they're
I know
writhing
what you're
around
saying.
in pain. This felt like the
Oh.
90s last night. There was just a lot of hacks. Really, I thought Donovan Mitchell, who at times can just go to the rim so violently, I thought at one point he really snapped his neck, like going into the basket stanchion. I was a little worried for him. On the replay, it was not nearly as bad, but it looked horrible in real time. And it was Tyrese Haliburton, who for the second time in a week, very different look, against the Bucks last week in the series clincher, he took it to the hole on Giannis for the game winner in overtime.
Get stitches.
And then Giannis had it out with Haliburton's dad, and that was the last we saw of Mr. Haliburton. So he was not in the building to enjoy his son last night, missing a free throw, getting his own rebound, dribbling out to the three-point line, and hitting a game winner. I mean, Haliburton, who was at once called the most overrated player by the players themselves in an anonymous poll, is obviously still massively underrated because what he's been able to do, not just last year carrying the team to the Eastern Conference Finals, but now this year, I mean, the dude's a superstar.
Oh, I don't know. That feels rich. I mean, that's a team. Talking about that's their thing. How many guys? 6 guys in double figures last night. Haliburton's rarely the leading scorer. He's a point guard.
One of the most efficient guards in the league, though.
Yeah, I just think that this is again, same lesson as I said in the first thing. Like Pacers play like a team. The Cavs do not, and I think you pointed this out in our pre-show meeting. They're injured. Like they can't play as a team, so Mitchell has to put them on their back. But the Pacers, to me, Haliburton's part of a team concept, and that's why he's great. I don't think he's a superstar. I don't think he's going to put a team on his back and get to the NBA Finals. I think he plays within that construct really well, and he alternates a lot. Like he definitely wants to make sure the other guys get their looks and get their touches, get in the flow. I don't see him as exactly as you described him.
I mean, how many game winners do you have to hit to be considered a star?
I don't know if I hear you. I mean,
but no Garland last night, no DeAndre Hunter, no Mobley. So clearly Cavaliers were shorthanded, but they also were winning, and that's what's tough about this. Like, yes, you were shorthanded, but Mitchell played, I played amazing in my opinion, and you had it right there. So even though you had the injuries, you had the game, it felt like, until the Pacers just sort of ripped it out from under you.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it was the entire second half was, the Cavs are having trouble putting this way, The way these NBA playoffs have been, you better really jump on that leader because the Pacers had so many opportunities. The Pacers actually got kind of cold. They had so many opportunities to come back into this because the Cavs wore down. Donovan Mitchell can't score 100 points. They need someone to step up. Yeah, I am really worried about the Cavs, obviously. This seems like a bad matchup to start with these injuries. They just don't have whatever they had to make them the number 1 seed. It's gone.
888-710-4ISN. Chris Lopresti is in this morning doing updates for Andrew Bogusch. Has got his child's communion today. CeeLo, what's
Confirmation.
up? Confirmation. I knew it wasn't communion.
Wow.
The kids are too old for that.
And confirmation on a Wednesday. Interesting. Okay.
That's what everyone keeps saying. Pete Bellotti said it yesterday. You guys said it said it today. You guys said it yesterday. Everyone's confused about the Wednesday confirmation.
Is it supposedly a Saturday, Sunday?
No, actually, now that I think back on it, I remember mine. I think for whatever reason, confirmation, I think, is during the week. Communion is generally a Sunday situation.
Because I've been invited to a few communions.
Yeah.
It was definitely on the weekend.
Yeah.
Confirmation, this is like more for when you're like a preteen.
Yeah. Or right in that range.
In that
early teen, yeah.
Are people wondering if Bogusch is making this up? Is that what's going on out there?
No, I don't think he's making it
I would
up.
not put that above Andrew Bogusch.
It took me a second. I remember trying to think back to those years of my childhood, and I'm like, oh, yeah, weeknight or weekday sounds about right. Yeah.
It's a scheduling issue, really.
Yeah, well,
these
things
suck,
happen.
Bogusch.
You know?
Or was it, to try to be the opening day of the conclave today?
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a nice little coincidence.
Yeah. I don't know. Opening day.
Do you think anybody from Long Island has a shot? Because that's where Bogusch would be today.
Do they call that opening day?
I was going to say, I like how you threw an opening day on that. Yeah. Like it's
hot
a sporting
dogs
event.
here. Get your hot dog.
New
Get
season.
your apple popcorn.
Do they have like a national anthem singer at the beginning of the ceremony?
Are they taking?
You do also the Canadian version? I mean, how many versions do you do? There's got to be the Italian anthem.
Are they taking odds to see when the white smoke will start up?
It's one of those bet-on things,
definitely.
Manny. Get on this. I don't know if it's like a DraftKings FanDuel type thing. You might have to go offshore for this one,
Yeah,
but
1-800-GAMBLER.
Can you bet on who will be the Pope?
You think offshore?
You think it's DraftKings? I could check.
I mean, I don't know. I would think some of the stuff that you can bet on these days, but maybe not because this is religion. I don't. You know what? I don't know.
Sports is religion to some people, Chris.
I shouldn't speak out of turn. That's a great point.
I'm interested in the conclave thing. I haven't watched the movie Perloff did or any of the various shows that have happened about this, but I'm into it. Who's gonna get it?
The next pope. I
don't
know.
I like Anthony Edwards' shot.
Shedeur Sanders.
What would his papal name be though? Pope what? Pope Ant-Man?
Ant-Man, the first of his name.
He has a very religious name.
Yeah.
Anthony. It's hard to.
It's pretty good. Just go straight up.
I feel like usually there's a change.
Yeah, no, you gotta. I don't know what's behind that, but
Yeah.
you gotta pick something.
Pope Kingslayer.
Just make it like a Game of Thrones. I don't know if it's the same.
More like because he beat LeBron James.
Oh,
And Kevin Durant.
And Jokic. Oh no.
Durant last
Jokic
year.
too.
Jokic, Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
All right, Kingslayer.
How about Pope Chris Finch's doghouse? How about that?
Tough place to be. Honestly, he might wish he was at the Vatican today.
I would wonder if Chris Finch is in Anthony Edwards' doghouse. I don't care about it. That is the more significant question.
That's fair. Sorry, you got me thinking about something. What kind of food do you think they must get? Because they're kind of like in the room. I'm talking about now. Back to the Pope and
Pigs
the
and
conclave.
blankets.
What's that?
Pigs and blanket.
No, it's Italy. I mean, it's Rome. Well, it's Vatican, but it's Rome. Some of the best food in the world. Do you think they're bringing it all in? Do you get to go out? What kind of breaks do you have? You saw the movie. Like, can you give us any insight?
it's like a conference, as I recall.
Yeah.
I actually didn't
But
finish
it's not like
the
a
movie.
sequestered jury,
It's
right?
not. They're allowed to leave. I don't know.
I don't think they leave. Also, they
Yeah.
smoke like chimneys in this movie.
Yeah.
Every single papal case, everybody's
It's Europe.
lighting darts left and right. It's amazing. It's amazing. It makes you wonder about wait, this guy is actually smoking a cigarette and he's like a high, powerful person. It's kind of weird, but you're right. It's Europe, a lot of South America.
Yeah, come on.
Did it take place in current day though? I don't know the answer to that.
I think it was set in current day. Yeah.
Because if it was, like the 60s or something.
No. I
60s.
believe it was current day.
Current day? All right, I haven't seen it yet either.
I was on a plane and I think I dozed off halfway through. Although my wife loves that movie. She's like, Conclave is awesome. You know what's good too? The Two Popes is pretty good. You guys ever seen that one?
No, but it's also on the list to get to.
Yeah.
So.
Pope of Greenwich Village, pretty good. Old school.
Guys knows all the Pope movies.
Mickey Rourke.
Look at that.
A
From
little bit different.
1985. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Perloff has seen 15 minutes of every movie ever made.
That's my
That's it,
pattern. I feel like our generation, and Maggie's too, like we grew up with movies on cable where you would just sort of half pay attention and watch a movie.
Yeah.
Now people actually have to intentionally watch movies because of streamers, so you don't have as big a volume. How many movies did you half watch as a kid?
I mean, every single one. Everyone I can get my hands on.
Yeah, that's your personality was formed by late 80s, early 90s sitcom sequel. I mean, comedy sequels.
Totally. Mel Brooks, and that's
my God.
All the Mel Brooks movies.
I know.
Spaceballs is like her Casablanca.
It is. I don't know what that says about me, but probably
good
nothing
sense of
good.
humor. That's what it says.
I know, and I can't wait to show them to my son eventually, but a lot of them don't hold up.
No, he's going to stare at you like, Mom, you're crazy.
Yeah, and it's a bummer, but listen, like you got to evolve with the world, right? Mm-hmm. So his humor is just going to be different. And I said, shed a single tear right down my cheek. Sela, what's going on in the world?
All right, a riddle sponsored by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at progressive.com. Well, the road teams are now 5-0 in round 2 of the NBA playoffs. That includes a series opening win for the Warriors in Minnesota without Steph Curry in half number 2 last night.
All hands on deck here. Butler topside through a series of screens, gets Naz Reid. Crossover dribble, chest pass to Hield. He's open for 3. Bang! Buddy Love, another big bucket for Buddy Love, and the Warriors back up by 12. He's got 24 points.
Warriors radio final bucket of the night for Hield. He led all scorers as Golden State dumped the T-Wolves 99-88. Jimmy Butler, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. And yes, all of that after Curry left in the second quarter with a strained hamstring. More on him in a second. On the other side, immediate frustration from the aforementioned Chris Finch, and beyond calling out Anthony Edwards, he went after his team's performance in general.
We had opportunities to run out, and just our transition decision-making was diabolical. Obviously then we couldn't hit a shot, but I didn't like the fact that we couldn't repeatedly generate good shots.
Critical of their defense as well. I'll get you that audio as the morning goes along. As for Curry, doesn't sound great. Here was Steve Kerr on his interaction with him at halftime.
He's obviously crushed, but the guys picked him up and played a great game, and obviously we're all concerned about Steph, but it's part of the game.
And already pessimistic about game 2.
We're definitely game planning for him to not be available on Thursday, but we don't know yet. Yeah. But with a hamstring, it's hard to imagine that he would play Thursday.
So day-to-day for now, and an MRI on the way, sounds like. So not great.
Crushed.
Yeah.
That's bad.
That's not a great word.
They're cooked, by the way. I know Pro was like they have a chance to win. They're cooked.
It's over. The door's
shut.
shut.
They stink.
Well, first of all, you're definitely not playing Curry game 2 because you can afford to come out of Minnesota with a split. You guys don't think that Curry has any chance to come back from this? I mean, we've all had little hamstring pulls. They're
the
tough.
amount that he runs and how he has to move throughout a game, I don't.
What are you talking about? He goes from the top of the 3-point line on one side to the top of the 3-point line on the other side.
Constantly moving.
That cannot be further from
moving on offense is easy. Moving on, I mean, they'll hide him on defense. All he has to do is hit a bunch of threes.
Ask Reggie Miller and Klay Thompson, guys who do that stuff, and Ray Allen, the kind of conditioning they do. It's grueling. It's like that is very hard. It's terribly hard on the defenders to cover those guys because they're in better shape than them.
As a former big man in high school, I'll tell you right now, the guards don't do crap. They're running 40 yards.
Give me a break.
And Steph, running on offense doesn't count. It doesn't. Anybody can run around and get a shot.
He was like the most well-conditioned guy in the NBA because of all the stuff he did off the ball. Like this could not be more wrong.
Well, regardless, though, I mean, I think like he can be effective in a different way because he can hit his shot. Like a hamstring injury will, like if it's John Morant and he has an injury, as we saw, that's bad. But Steph can be effective a little bit, right? Like you still have to watch out for Steph. I don't care if he has one functional leg.
I just saw it last year. We saw OG get hurt game 2, and he basically was done. He tried.
Yeah,
to play.
because OG is
no, it was because he couldn't move. He couldn't move on offense. He couldn't do anything.
But he's not a shooter like Steph.
No one's a shooter.
We may not see Steph again these playoffs. Like, I think that's what we have to get ready for. Unless they're facing some kind of elimination game and they bring him back, like, symbolically. Just, like, let's be honest. He's 37. I know he's a superstar and these guys are not human. But what are we doing?
Steph is 6'3". He needs to get separation on his shot, which means he has to either break guys off the dribble or create space. He can't create space if he can't move.
But that's why this would be so devastating if the T-Wolves let this get out of hand. Because last night should have been I'm not saying it should have been simple, but I mean, the best shooter in the world leaves the court. You got to take advantage, and they didn't do it.
Well, also, they can get by. Do you guys agree or disagree that they could definitely get by the T-Wolves without Steph?
I really don't think so. I agree.
Well, it's possible though. I mean, you have Draymond and Jimmy, and now Buddy Hield. I mean, that's kind of matching the T-Wolves. The T-Wolves have some real flaws, I think.
That would be a big blemish for Anthony Edwards, even in his young career, even at 23 or whatever. And, we know guys more peak in their late 20s, like 26, 27 in terms of winning titles. But that would be a blemish.
You can't beat LeBron and Luka and then lose to these guys.
Yeah,
that
but
would
you
be crazy.
they are basically, the T-Wolves are a version of the Houston Rockets. They think that they have the center and Sengun and these tall teams are obviously, and I fool myself, are a bad matchup for the Warriors. Like, I'm talking about 1-5. Like, this is you saw it in game one. Like, they don't match up great with the Warriors so far. Like, this could be bad. I'm telling you, and Jimmy is no joke. He carried worse Heat teams pretty far. I just think this is still a series. And, okay, give me this. If they survive, is there any chance you guys think that Steph can get healthy enough if somehow they escape out of the series?
That's different. Yes, I do think they can get out of the series. Maybe next series he could be decent enough to play. I just feel like Harden a couple years ago with the Nets, he had a hamstring. There's so many guys that we see. The hamstring in the playoffs is just a killer because there's only one day in between games for the Warriors up until Game 5. So they're going to get through a lot of these games where they're not going to have 2 or 3 days in between. So they're going to get through. This series is going to go by quick.
Remember 2016? Which was different because he slipped, Steph slipped on the court.
And he couldn't create space and he couldn't get his shot off. And I've seen this before.
Who's the winning player on the Timberwolves other than Edwards? Who do you point to? I mean, DiVincenzo.
Dante.
Who?
Dante.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if that's enough.
I don't know. I get the Warriors, guts and guile, championship, whatever. They're not that good. Like Stephen Curry really is really the straw that makes the drink go. Like
I don't know. I think it's Kerr maybe. I was thinking last night. I'm like, ooh, he made Buddy Hield. No, I think it's definitely Kerr. And it says do not underestimate the coaching advantage in this. You see the Warriors, the way the ball moves, it's night and day. Like I think that's Kerr's system. And Buddy Hield's not doing this in any other team, is he? Is Buddy Hield shooting like that? I had Buddy Hield on my Sixers. This is a Warriors thing, and it's Draymond and it's Jimmy and his experience. Don't count out the old guys.
This is Perloff's Crusade. CeeLo, thank you so much. Coming up, all right, we're already getting our first Shedeur Sanders sort of stories that are popping up that are less than flattering. And to be honest, he didn't even do anything. Like, this is the ripple effect of his fame. We'll tell you what we mean next. It's M&P.
I'm the petty king.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Close for the Warriors after Steph Curry has to leave the game with a hamstring injury, but they win the game last night in Minnesota. Welcome back, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Pearl, you're still riding with the Warriors here. You think there's still
there's still a chance. I think they could survive this T-Wolves series because they're just better coached than T-Wolves. And then I give it 15 days. I mean, it's not a lot of days. EJ pointed out we're in back-to-back, not back-to-back, but you only get 1 day of rest season. I think if they survive to the conference finals, here's one reason I think, you know what? The Nuggets say they advance. They have Jamal Murray. You don't think he's going to get hurt? The Thunder are young. We have no idea what they're going to do. This playoffs feels like a war of attrition at this point. There's so many guys getting hurt. Maybe the Warriors survive long enough to get Steph back. That's what I would be hoping for as a Warriors fan. No, I'm not giving up at all.
We are asking you on X, are you shutting the door on the Warriors winning a title after Steph Curry injured his hamstring? Yes, 79%. And you're breaking into me with some news. EJ,
I got it. I see it. And
What's going on?
Adam Schefter, Dallas and Pittsburgh are working to finalize a trade that will send George Pickens to the Cowboys in exchange for draft compensation. The trade is expected to be finalized today.
Wow. The
Jerry
Cowboys are
alive.
alive. Substantive talks. Looks like it's actually happening. Wow. Okay. Dallas and Pittsburgh, again, working to finalize a trade that will send George Pickens to the Cowboys for draft picks. And Jerry comes through on a promise. Yeah. And do you like the fit, George Pickens to Dallas?
Not at all.
All right. Let's let the Eagle fan hate on this.
No, I mean, it's just like, who's your play caller? I assume it's going to be Brian Schottenheimer. So you have two really good receivers, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Guess who ain't getting the ball? CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. There's no way this is going to work. This is just another. I mean, look at the last few trades that Jerry's made. None of them have worked. I don't think this one will either. I'm just going to say it right out.
Okay, well, if you're going to define worked as won a Super Bowl, then yeah, I can't tell you the Amari Cooper trade worked or anything like that.
No, that's not work. I mean, I just don't. You don't have to win a Super Bowl.
Okay.
Get to the playoffs. They say be 12-5 again.
Okay, I like it. You're not rebuilding. This is not starting from scratch. You paid Dak Prescott $60 million a year. CeeDee Lamb is the second, third highest paid wide receiver in the league. You're about to pay Micah Parsons. This is what all in looks like. And here's the situation. You make good points when you say that guys who leave Pittsburgh, especially as wide receivers, don't tend to do much other places. Well, here's George Pickens' opportunity to rewrite this because Pittsburgh is telling you goodbye and good riddance. When you are actually an extremely talented wide receiver, right? This is talent. The reason they're giving up on him is because of what's going on upstairs.
That's weird. It sounds familiar. Steelers trade a guy who might have some character issues at receiver. Let me say some other names that this reminds you of. Santonio Holmes. You remember him, right, EJ? Let's see. Obviously.
Antonio
Brown. Chase Claypool.
Okay.
Deontay Johnson. I could go Martavis Bryant. Actually, Plaxico
won a Super Bowl.
Plaxico was okay, but
AB.
generally, nobody knows receivers better than the Steelers organization. That is, they can scout them better than anybody. They know who's good, who's not good. When they are giving up on George Pickens, there's got to be a reason.
I don't disagree with you, and I'm not going to sit here and say George Pickens has been a model NFL player and locker room guy. I'd be a fool to say that. However, I think that the Cowboys, we don't know what the draft compensation is going to be on this potential trade here with the Steelers. This is a risk I am willing to take with the Cowboys. And I don't know if their Super Bowl odds are obviously not going to change off of this or anything, but this is a risk I'm willing to take. I got the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles in my division. I've got Jaden Daniels now on my corner in Washington. We'll see what happens with the Giants. They just got a new quarterback that clearly they're very fond of. We'll see if Jackson Dart becomes a thing. What am I doing? I can't just sit here on my hands. So I'm one to crush the Cowboys at every turn, and I love piling on Jerry, and he's, senile and all that. But I don't want to crush a team when they take a risk. And this one has it's a boom or bust. It's high risk, high reward. We've been wondering whether the offense is going to get another spark. You get a motivated George Pickens, who has not gotten a second contract yet. You hope that Micah and Dak Prescott can be these good leaders and that he buys in. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. May 7th, do you think the Cowboys make the playoffs this year?
I'm a little more hopeful now. I thought the Brian Schottenheimer.
Wow. Get ready for the parade.
Well, listen, they weren't planning one before. The Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons putting their lockers together, I thought was a little college. It looked a little eyewash to me. Like, come on, these are grown men. If they need to have a conversation, they have to literally be next to each other to have it. But you know what? Maybe it's a signal. Maybe it's a sign that there's like a new attitude or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how Brian Schottenheimer is going to be as a coach. I'm not that high on him, but if he's going to bring a new attitude and George Pickens can actually buy in, maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe he's a late bloomer. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys want to win the ball. They built a running team, actually. They keep drafting linemen. They got another guard this offseason to replace Ackford. They want to run the ball. And honestly, one of the big issues is they have all these injuries coming in next year. DeMarvion Overshawn won't be back. I think Trayvon Diggs, there's just nothing but negative reports coming out all season. He might not be back till halfway through the season. They have a ridiculously hard schedule next year. I don't trust Dak's health. How long? That's the other issue, too. Yeah. How much faith do you have in Dak Prescott? 2 years ago, he was fantastic. I'll give you that. But do you really think that that's coming back? With Schottenheimer as a coach, I'm having trouble. You're right. In a vacuum, this is a good trade. But generally, when I look at the Cowboys, I just can't get excited.
Could be the Joe Milton.
Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Just waking up, just getting your coffee, or maybe just getting off of work. We got some breaking news for you. The Dallas Cowboys are making a trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers, two of the most storied organizations in the NFL. Pearl, we thought it was dead. It's alive. George Pickens on his way from the Steel City to Big D. We do not know what the draft compensation is going to be yet, like the parameters of the trade. Once we get that, we'll get a little bit more of a full picture. But on its surface, love this for Dallas. you're not rebuilding. You're not in rebuild mode. You're in pay guys mode. And I don't know if you're paying George Pickens necessarily. You're trying to keep pace in the NFC East. You got to make the most of the end of Dak's career here because you're paying him $60 million a year. CeeDee Lamb makes a lot. Micah Parsons is about to make a lot. You got a new head coach. Give him a chance. Give your organization a chance to actually be a playoff team. Make your offense more dynamic. I like it.
Feels like one of those offseason moves where everybody loves it in May, and then in November, like, oh man, remember when we all liked that trade? It's possible because these things could go either way. There's so many offseason moves. Obviously, the Steelers had no need for him. They already have DK Metcalf. They're very duplicative. So this makes sense. I'm dying to know what they gave up for him, and I'm dying to know if they pay him. He's entering the last year of his contract. I don't know that they just let him go to free agency. That doesn't make any sense. What depends on what you give up. Is this a 1-year rental for a very young player? That doesn't totally make sense either. I get it. The need for wide receiver 2 is huge. I'm just not sure that George Pickens is that guy. If I could pick any receiver out of the thin air to add to the Cowboys, that's not necessarily the guy I would take because he's tall and he's great downfield. It reminds me a little bit of CeeDee Lamb. Tall. CeeDee Lamb's much more versatile. I kind of think they need, and I said this yesterday, a Stephon Diggs guy, a guy who's going to really help move the sticks there, complement the run game. Pickens is a home run hitter, which is interesting. We'll see if Dak can make that throw, but you're right. On paper, it does make sense, but you know how offseason moves are, Mag.
I do, but you're saying are we going to look back in November and say, man, this wasn't worth it? Well, I've been now in a couple seasons with the Cowboys, I'm just saying about last season specifically, where by the time we got to November, the season was basically over because Dak got hurt. And, it just felt like the writing was on the wall, lots of injuries. And I'm not saying that couldn't happen again. But, man, give yourself a chance, a better chance. And I like the fact that Pickens really good on 50-50 balls, good down the sideline. Yeah, he's not that, slot receiver guy, but he can be a big play machine. And I think his talent alone, he is capable of being a number one. I think on talent.
Definitely.
So it's all about what's in the cabeza, what's going on upstairs. Can he be a good teammate? And I know that Dallas, everything gets magnified. And so if you... not that Pittsburgh is an undercover team. Surely we talk about the Steelers a lot. But there's something about that star and something about Jerry and all that stuff that makes a one-day story a three-day story when it's the Cowboys. But
so Pickens had character issues in that Steelers locker room with Mike Tomlin, late to a game, right? Wasn't that the report? Why would this be better? This is a team that completely imploded in the playoffs year after year. And it seemed like there was no leader who stepped up and stopped the slide. I don't know that this team can support George Pickens.
Okay, so I agree with you that Mike Tomlin sets a tone in Pittsburgh, but there's clearly leadership issues with the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger called it out, a year ago on his podcast? He said on offense, there is no leader here. And I think you tried to bring in Russell Wilson and try to make that, be more of a stabilizing force. But obviously he's gone now. I have no idea if Aaron Rodgers is coming. We'll talk about that and how this impacts his decision.
That would fix a leadership issue.
You're dripping with sarcasm there.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think actually, to be fair, I think the Steelers have had a leadership issue. I think they have. And so I don't think there was anyone with half the personality of Micah Parsons or even Dak Prescott who actually has been holding guys accountable in Pittsburgh. I think it's been a huge issue. And I think that any Steeler fan would tell you, and when Ben Roethlisberger's calling it out, and I know sometimes he can get very honest, he called it out, and Najee Harris is even gone now, and I don't even know if he was a great leader.
Yeah, I mean...
Pickens didn't have anyone besides the head coach, which is a big one. But sometimes the guys in the locker room have to be the ones to hold dudes accountable. And there wasn't anyone there for Pittsburgh to do that.
Well, all that sounds nice. But when you have Matt Canada and Arthur Smith calling plays, isn't that the problem?
Sure. So maybe this is a little better. This will be better with Schottenheimer.
But you can't be late to a game. Yeah. Honestly, we'll see.
No, I know.
You know what the lasting image for me of what went wrong with the Mike McCarthy era in Dallas was the playoff loss to the Packers. CeeDee Lamb drops a pass in the first quarter. Pretty good pass by Dak. And he is on the bench, looks like on the verge of tears, and Mike McCarthy trying to console him. That just didn't look like everybody was on the same page. I just think there's something wrong in Dallas, too. Now, I like your points about Pittsburgh. You're right. There's definitely a leadership void there, but this is where you're going to go to fix this guy? It seems dicey.
It's maybe a high risk, but it could be high reward. And this is what you hope, right? We spent all of last week talking about Shedeur Sanders dropping in the draft, and is he going to get the message, right? Is he going to get the message that all these teams passed on you multiple times, and is there a little bit of like humble pie or whatever it is, right? Wouldn't the same thing happen right now with Pickens? It's the same deal. Like a team just gave up on you, and it's not because of your talent. It's because you haven't acted. You didn't come correct. Like you didn't act like a professional enough times for them to believe in you, and instead they trade a second-round pick for DK Metcalf. So it could be a wake-up call. This could be the 2.0 version of George Pickens' career where he says, wow, that was a slap in the face, and now I gotta get right on a team that's not devoid of talent. Like, you didn't have to go to Siberia to get the message.
Right. I mean, but you
AKA Cleveland.
This didn't all happen in a vacuum. There's a reason the Steelers had George Pickens because he fell to the second round because I don't think NFL teams trusted him. So, I mean, look at him on paper. He's a first-round pick if I've ever seen one in my entire life. He's gigantic, catches everything, tall, fast. I think the Steelers, as they always do, said, you know what? Other teams have issues with his character, but we're just going to take a risk and hope that Tomlin can fix him. Didn't work. I mean, you saw him when he came back from the injury last year. He was just getting no targets whatsoever. Everybody's on a different page. I mean, Dallas is a culture place. That's just what I worry about. That Dallas has definitely had some culture problems too.
I know, but not everybody, is going to go to. I'm trying to think who's got the best culture in the league. I mean, the Eagles maybe. Chiefs have a great culture.
Yeah.
I mean,
Packers traditionally have a good culture. Yeah. Well, I don't know. The Rodgers era. They feel like a culture team too.
I mean, the Ravens. Like, I'd like to think that although the Ravens Bills. Now we're calling into question a little bit, Bills.
Well, part of it is you need an elite quarterback and set the culture. Tom Brady, you could say, the Ravens drafted Mike Green, the embattled guy out of Marshall who had 2 sexual assault allegations. Or they can do that because they have such a strong locker room because everybody follows Lamar Jackson.
Sure. It's like your Eagles absorbing Jalen Carter, who was coming off of, just this the car crash, obviously, that was fatal. Yeah. And feeling like we get him into our system, our culture, and, we're going to expect that he's going to stay on the straight and narrow.
Right. And Chiefs with Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
Rashee Rice, another first-round talent who everyone knew about. I mean, there was no mystery there, and they said we can keep him. So the question is Dallas that team?
All right. We got the update here from Jordan Schultz, has the compensation update. Again, we're talking about the breaking news this morning, which is the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers teaming up for a big trade. George Pickens going to Dallas. What's going back to Pittsburgh? A third-round pick back to the Steelers, day 3 pick swap with the Cowboys in exchange for Pickens. So there you go. So a third-round pick and a pick swap? That's what we're thinking? Yes. I'm used to that for the NBA.
Late round, yes.
And a late-round pick swap? A day 3 pick swap, yeah.
Okay. So
a second day, a third-round pick and then a late-round pick swap. But we don't know the round yet.
No.
Okay.
I'm nervous here for Cowboys. For one thing, Schefter very specifically tweeted out that George Pickens' contract is up after this year and his agent is David Mulugeta. I seem to recall us talking about Jerry Jones said he didn't know who David Mulugeta's name was.
I don't know his name.
Right. I don't think that the Cowboys, people around Jerry, want him alone in a room with David Mulugeta because David Mulugeta is driving hard bargains these days. This scares me. Like, keep Jerry away from David because David will get a great contract for George Pickens.
Well, listen,
and I think they might pay him now.
Everyone's getting one over on the Cowboys recently. Let's call it what it is. However, we'll see what happens with Parsons. Yeah. But here's the situation. I mean, nobody is going to fault the Cowboys if they play out the season. This is not one of those, you got to get in front of it because you've got to make sure that you're not resetting the market. It's George Pickens. Let's be honest about what we're doing here. They're taking a third-round flyer on a first-round talent, could be a superstar, but he's got to prove that he can put together a full season without being a distraction.
Well, right, but if he's coming up on his contract, maybe he has a certain. I think that's what was happening in Pittsburgh. He wanted to get paid, right? So won't he want to get paid here in Dallas?
Well, then if he's not going to be a good teammate or it's going to be all about myself or he's not going to realize this is a prove-it year, you're in the contract year now, then let him go. Like, you don't want that headache. But I see the Cowboys taking a flyer here, and I like it.
I mean, the thing is, if Pickens, it does have a good season and they can't re-sign him, I think they would probably get a third-round comp. That's a high contract. They probably have the ability to get a comp pick at some point if he leaves. But still, you say that, you know how complicated this is. When guys don't get paid, they can be quite unhappy.
Well, they can be motivated.
In the NFL, it feels like the trend is towards being upset when you have 1 year on your contract. I mean, Pickens already is a bit volatile.
Yeah, but he can't come in and start demanding stuff. Well, I mean, that would be the wrong tact, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, he was demanding stuff from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but different, drafted by the organization, knows the organization. Now you're walking into a brand new thing.
This should be a wake-up call for him.
No doubt. Let's go to the phones. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. What do you think of George Pickens being traded to the Dallas Cowboys? So going from Pittsburgh to Dallas. And you're welcome to weigh in on both sides here. Cowboy fans, do you like this? And then also for the Steeler fans, what does this signal to you? Is this actually a rebuild here in Pittsburgh? Because if Rodgers never comes, and if this is the, Will Howard experience, or I don't know, who's going to play quarterback? Mason Rudolph?
Mason.
Then maybe you are doing a reset.
You just traded for DK Metcalf.
Yeah, but you got him now. He's for the future.
No.
I think there's a chance Rodgers didn't want to play with this guy.
We do not care.
I really think that's I know.
Think Rodgers could have shadow orchestrated this trade?
I think he went to the facility. Remember, they said he watched film with them. Like he wasn't just like, oh, show me the cafeteria. He was like seeing their process.
Where's the bathroom?
Right. So I think he's probably done work on his team. I'm giving him credit for that. I don't think Rodgers is like a slacker.
No, he went and threw and caught passes with Metcalf at UCLA.
He probably watched the film. And he saw Pickens, throwing guys into the stands and being a malcontent. It was like, get that guy out of here.
Yeah, but Rodgers doesn't have that kind of pull in the Steelers organization.
Well, I think he could. Here's what I'll say. I think he could say, "Hey, listen, I don't know if that guy's a winning player," and the Steelers could do whatever they want. And you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he went in there and demanded him off the team like he was doing with the Jets, where he was demanding guys there.
Right.
But I think he could have in talking with the coaches. He says he's talked to Tomlin a lot the last few weeks. He could have said this guy really has been a problem. I don't know if I'm me coming in is going to help, especially when I got to make sure I get DK his touches.
I don't buy that at all, DJ. I like that theory, but the day DK arrived, 90% of NFL insiders are like, well, that means Pickens is gone. They're absolutely depleted. That, we were shocked that Pickens lasted till the draft. I think wasn't there a report last week that he might stay with Pittsburgh? Well, that obviously was a wrong report.
It was yesterday.
But generally, it was a long shot that they weren't going to deal him. I do like that Rodgers theory, by the way. And I actually agree with EJ that Rodgers probably has some influence in this building if he wants to. Because they're, as you guys just pointed out, they're desperate. Rodgers has it where they want it, where he wants him, which is kind of scary.
It's funny how the leverage really flipped there.
Actually, okay, so maybe I am being a little sold by EJ's theory.
Let's go.
I have to think about that.
888-710-4ISN. JT's in Atlanta. JT, what do you think? DK Metcalf, George Pickens being traded to the Dallas Cowboys. Do you like it?
And not as an Eagles fan, I don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that, this is a contract year for him, right? So that means that he's going to have to show improvement. He understands that. He's got the talent. He's never had a quarterback or another wide receiver to draw attention away. I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to show and excel. And like I said, as an Eagles fan, I don't like it. And I feel like something's going on over there in Dallas. I feel like Jerry's like the king or queen of England now. He's just a figurehead. He's obviously not making decisions anymore because they're doing stuff that actually makes sense now this offseason, and it's just weird, and I don't like it. I liked them better when I knew exactly what I was getting, which was total incompetence. And now it's just like, wait a minute, they're acting like a football team again and could be a potential threat. And just as an Eagles fan, it kind of worries me a little bit. The other thing that I did want to mention was Perloff's take on Steph Curry, shooting with half a leg. And just all he has to do is just stand in a corner or just shoot as long as he's a shooter. No, that's not good. That's not going to work. He has to be able to run. But, your other take on Buddy Love is, I think that's what they're calling him now. Can he do this? I mean, he's a 3-point champion, isn't he? I mean, and I had him on my fantasy team last year. In the start of the season, he was doing pretty good, and I think he has the ability. Whether it was with Sacramento or wherever else. I know you said in Philly he wasn't that great, but Buddy Love can shoot that. And if he's on a heater, however long that lasts, if he stays hot like this, I think definitely they could take. I agree with Perloff that they can take down Minnesota, but is going to rely on him to have to fill into that Steph Curry role.
Yeah, well, last night, JT, good call all around. I mean, last night he certainly showed up. Hield's been very good in these playoffs so far, and you love the Warriors system. And Steph Curry left the game last night. If you're just getting around to that one, he left the game in the second quarter with a hamstring issue.
Buddy Hield was so good in college as an outside shooter. I was so excited for that guy. You have to admit, he's never been able to put it all together. Anybody who told me coming into this playoffs, any NBA expert who said, you know what? Buddy Hield's going to be the secret weapon for the Warriors. Remember we were making fun of him because he couldn't dribble? That was the only storyline. Jimmy Butler's like, buddy, you got to stop dribbling. Now he's even dribbling. He's taking the ball. But back to the point, as an Eagles fan, I'm not scared of this trade. Are you kidding me, JT? Why would you be scared of it? First of all, you should be scared of the Commanders. That's a one team that's the other thing with Dallas. Dallas now has two really good teams in the division. They can't pick on everybody like they've been doing for years. No, I definitely have Dallas third in this division.
We're talking about the big trade that went down early this morning, which is George Pickens is on his way from Pittsburgh to the Dallas Cowboys. The compensation, Pittsburgh gets a third-round draft pick and a day 3 pick swap that we're still waiting on. George is in LA.
When you're general manager, of which I am.
George, you think the Steelers got screwed here?
I do. You trading one prima donna for another, you lose a first-round talent. And Metcalf, I pay attention to the Seahawks, and he's just been just as bad as George Pickens as far as his attitude and the way about him. And to me, it's just trading one prima donna for another one. It's no improvement. They lose first-round draft pick talent. To me, Pittsburgh got screwed.
Yeah, George, I mean, I guess if you think that they would have been better together, is that what you mean? Like that Pittsburgh should have kept them both?
Yeah. I think they would have been better off keeping both of them, getting Rodgers, somebody to play quarterback until they figure out their quarterback situation. Or maybe they're doing like you said they're doing, they're rebuilding.
I don't think they get enough targets for both of them to keep them happy because those guys seem kind of moody if they don't get their targets.
No, yeah. I mean, I guess I see DK's kind of like, I don't want to say issues. That makes it sound too heavy. George, thanks for the call. And I know George has watched a lot of DK Metcalf very closely because he's our resident Rams fan around here with that great rivalry. But I guess like Metcalf to me seems a little more moody about the touches. George Pickens, I think there's a lot going on. I don't know.
But I thought Metcalf was really getting upset last year when they were phasing him out of the offense for JSN. And I think I don't know if the Seahawks knew what I understand what George is saying. His body language is not great. But I think he's got more of a proven track record, more production. DK Metcalf is awesome, by the way. A lot of people say that my body is shaped like DK Metcalf's. We're kind of the triangle.
I've heard that.
Funny.
I've heard that.
I know.
Physically, I love watching DK Metcalf because when he runs and gets in the open field, there's nothing cooler. I think DK is a step up attitude-wise. I totally know what George is saying. But Pickens, come on. At the end of last year, didn't seem like Pickens was the most miserable player in the NFL?
Yeah, but, to JT's point, who's Pickens been playing with? Something's clearly not right in Pittsburgh. I know they keep making the playoffs, but that's it. It's a revolving door of quarterbacks lately since they're trying to find the heir apparent to Big Ben. Their offensive coordinator, basically the owner, had to step in because the coach wouldn't fire him, even though everyone is saying that he's got to go. Now you got Arthur Smith, who inspires absolutely nobody to think anything cool is going to happen.
But they know.
Yeah, you got to control your attitude and you got to be a pro for sure. But he has not been unlocked yet.
That being said, they have him in the building. They know him better than we do. So I actually have a little trust that they know what they're doing in regards to this.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Okay, Cowboy fans, you excited to get George Pickens to pair up with CeeDee Lamb? And then on the flip side, do you think Aaron Rodgers had anything to do with the Pickens trade? Is Rodgers even coming to the Steelers?
That's more complicated than barely artificial intelligence, Mac.
I know. That's a quote that we will get to in a moment. Who said it? Someone very influential. It's M&P.
I've never had anything I wanted I couldn't get.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She's probably in Texas, Amarillo, all I know, George Strait said it. Yeah, that's where all them Mexicans.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. Manny, of course, going with country music because the Dallas Cowboys are back in the news, trading for George Pickens. Now, so Jerry Jones last summer said, I'm going all in, and he did not. He did not sign Derrick Henry for $8 million. Probably cost him the season. This year he promised, what was the word? 2 substantive moves.
Yeah, substantive trade talks. I hate that word. I can't
say it. 2
of
them, right?
Substantive.
He said, I think he said he had 2 moves on the table. So this might even be number 1. He traded for George Pickens this morning. If you hadn't heard the news, the tall Steelers receiver. Maybe there's another one on the horizon, too. That would be exciting. 3rd-round pick, George Pickens. I think we're already disagreeing on this one. I understand where you're coming from. The Cowboys had to do something. But it just feels to me like this is a move that looks good in the offseason. And then in November, when the Cowboys aren't getting along, we're going to be like, okay, we should have seen this coming.
Well, a lot of this is going to depend on Pickens. And to be fair, while I like this move for the Cowboys, I don't have a lot of evidence that George Pickens is actually going to make the most of it or that he's going to change his behavior at all. You know, we saw it at Georgia. We saw it in Pittsburgh, the unsportsmanlike penalties, hurting your team because you're emotional. Mike Tomlin coming out after they had a win over the Cincinnati Bengals late in the season last year in December, but saying he's just got to grow up. 2 unsportsmanlike penalties that really hurt the team. Again, they end up winning the game, so it didn't become an even bigger deal. But you know, yeah, he's got to grow up. I think Tomlin is right about this. And sometimes, you know, you hope that it's trading a guy who we all know is super talented. Maybe this is the wake-up call, and maybe the Cowboys are ready to, make the most of it. They did have T.O. I mean, it's not like the Cowboys. I know it was a while ago, but they have.
That's weird. How many rings came out of that situation?
Well, no rings have come out of any situation since the 90s.
What's your point about them having T.O.? That didn't really work.
I'm just saying that I'm not shocked that they would think they could bring in somebody who is. Yeah. You know.
Listen, they had, by the time the dynasty ended in the 90s, those guys were. Those boys be boys, they were doing crazy stuff off the field.
Well, it was a different time.
That went completely haywire. But generally, they haven't gotten over the hump with guys with character issues. They haven't gotten over the hump with good guys. They haven't gotten over the hump with anything. And I don't know if this is going to make the difference.
Yeah, I'm actually more curious. I'm interested in this on the Dallas side, no doubt. The Cowboys now become instantly more interesting, which, is it something. I'm fascinated for this by the Pittsburgh side. What does this mean? Because is Rodgers coming? What are they rebuilding? This for me for Pittsburgh is totally bizarre.
Don't be a freaking weirdo.
It would be so bizarre to have DK Metcalf and George Pickens. That to me would be like clone image. Like how would you run an offense with those guys? They need the same exact passes. That was not. It didn't make any sense. It never made any sense. The second Metcalf got there, they should have traded Pickens the next day.
Colton is in New Jersey, is a Steeler fan. Colton, what do you think? Do you like this for your Steelers?
This team drives me nuts more and more by the days. I don't understand. If this means no Aaron Rodgers, then I'm 1,000% for it. If you're bringing in a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, why in God's green earth are you trading George Pickens to then have the same exact problem this franchise has had the last 5 years of not having a wide receiver number 2, because you're back in the same exact spot. And oh, by the way, all the rumors going around, because I'm ticked off this morning if you can't figure it out. The whole talk was, they're going to get a second-round pick for him. They're going to get a second-round pick. Oh, wait, reality check. It's not a second-round pick, and it's after the draft. So you can't even replace him.
Yeah.
What are the Steelers doing? Only way I'm fine with this is if it means no Aaron Rodgers, and they're absolutely punting on this season, and they're going to be high in next year's draft. And in Pittsburgh, they draft their future quarterback. Otherwise, what in the heck are the Pittsburgh Steelers doing? And by the way, this organization as a whole, again, some of these guys already figured me out. I did used to work at the station. Kind of my hot take about Mike Tomlin is there. I think mediocre Mike. I think they're going to finish 500. They're still bringing Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to not be close to a quarterback, by the way, Maggie and Perloff.
Yeah.
And by the way, before you let me go, Manny Rodriguez was totally okay picking that day, not knowing the Knicks were playing, and he still watches Knicks. Shout out to
Colton.
I don't know, Colton. I liked every part of the call until that.
Good to hear from you, man. I'm all for every part of that call, and solid points that you're making.
George Pickens is not. It's not a solid point. George Pickens is not a wide receiver number 2. I know what a wide receiver number 2 looks like, and it ain't George Pickens. And he would not be happy in that role, and it wouldn't have worked. And I'm sorry. I do not think of George Pickens is what the Steelers needed. In fact, it's definitely addition by subtraction. He would have been a pain in their butt. He's coming up on a contract. He wouldn't get any targets in this offense, and he would have been miserable there.
Okay, but Colton's point remains a good one, which is you just said it. They should have traded him the day after they got DK Metcalf in that trade. Now you're trading him months later.
Because nobody wanted him.
Well, Dallas clearly wanted him, but you thought you were getting a second-round pick, and clearly you weren't. So you misread the market.
It's not that, well, I don't know if they thought they said they got DK Metcalf, and I'm sure they called every GM and said, what will you give me for him? And everyone said, nah, we don't want him. He's coming up on a contract. So I think they were just waiting to try and get something, and then Dallas, whatever, finally got desperate enough to do it. I don't think anybody else wanted him.
I think you're letting Omar Khan off the hook on this one.
But obviously the market spoke. You don't think Omar Khan called everybody? What's he supposed to do? If the NFL doesn't value George Pickens, then why should the Steelers value him?
Well, I'm just saying if you were intent on trading him, if you actually were saying we're going to get a second-round pick and now you're conceding that you're going to get a third, why not make this trade before the draft when you can actually replace him? And Colton has another good point. 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, if he does come, signals all in. Like you're not having Rodgers there to hold the fort. There's not some hotshot rookie behind him that he's going to be a bridge to. You don't even know what's going on.
But next year's draft's way better, by the way, than this year's draft anyway. So I don't even know if they wanted a third-round pick in this year's draft. What's a third-round pick going to do for this year's team? Nothing.
Well, you replace George Pickens, you're hoping.
They try to get a guy, who they draft, the Michigan kid last year. They're not getting anyone in the third round that's going to make a difference.
Roman Wilson. Here's the thing, though. It's like this now does – I agree. I don't know how much sense it really makes to bring in Rodgers.
Well, I get it, but he did say something. He's like, "This is all going to fall apart. They're going to be 500." That's the problem. Mike Tomlin's going to squeeze out a 9-8 record out of this Mason Rudolph-led offense, and they're not going to be back in the draft for a quarterback. It's a bit of an issue. It just feels like they're in limbo. I agree, but I don't think George Pickens was substantive. I really don't think this is a needle mover for them one way or the other. He got one target in his last game there. One target. They did not like him. He didn't like them. He unfollowed them on Instagram. This had to happen. And by the way, their draft was so interesting that they had one problem, they couldn't stop the Ravens running game, and they went all in.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. You forget, this defense has been the rock that they can build around, and that's falling apart. There's a lot of problems in Pittsburgh.
888-710-4ISN. As far as Manny, we'll get to him in a minute. Back today after it's been an eventful 48 hours for you, Manny. CeeLo is here with updates. What do you got, pal?
All right, couple things here. So whether it was substantive or not, Jerry Jones did tease that leading up to the draft. And a little context here, Diana Rossini a couple of minutes ago said that they have been working on this trade since before the draft. Talks stalled. Dallas came back with an improved offer and effort to land Pickens. So I don't know what they were offering initially, but the third rounder and the late round pick swap is what it ends up.
There's a rumor that he offered to lend the bus to them for 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me to get on that bus. I feel like you get on the bus. Are you coming out of the bus? I don't know if I can drink that much Johnny Walker. There's just a lot of issues with the bus.
Actually, they hand you a penicillin shot the second you get off there.
Gross.
Josina Anderson has a report or a tweet out, I should say, on the late round pick swap. Should you be interested in that?
Yeah.
So it's a 2027 fifth rounder for Pittsburgh's 2027 sixth. So essentially a fifth for a sixth plus the third. There's your late round pick swap. And away you go with Pickens in the last year of his rookie contract. I know you guys covered the connection with the agent. Same agent that Jerry Jones claimed he didn't know the name of.
It's Michael Parsons' agent, right?
Right, exactly.
And by the way, an agent who is getting big deals done left and right, who is, again, I like the Cowboys. Don't get Jerry Jones in a room with David Mulligata. That's a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know his name.
Yeah. Well, we had some fun with that. I happened to be in that day, I think, when we were talking about Jerry and Micah Parsons' extension or potential future extensions. Now he's got two guys that are going to need deals with the same agent. To the NBA, Steph Curry goes down with a hamstring injury in the second quarter last night, but his Warriors still took game one from the Timberwolves in Minnesota 99-88 behind the duo of Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield. 24 points for Hield, including 5 threes, while Butler had 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. They stepped up and in for Batman Curry, says Draymond Green.
Robin turned into Batman. What y'all call Buddy?
Alfred.
Alfred turned into Robin. and they filled in. So it was beautiful to see.
Now, as far as the Batman references go, Butler and Hield trying to get on the same page as part of what was an eventful joint post-game media availability.
No.
I'll start out.
No. I'm Batman today. I saved the day. He's still Robin.
All right. Well, I'm still Robin, yes. And Steph's still Batman. And Buttered is still who he is.
How many Buttered?
And the Buttered thing became a big theme.
The night is darkest just before the dawn.
There was a lot more of that, which I will bring you some more details on in audio.
So Buddy is now Butters?
Buttered.
Buttered.
I'm having a hard time keeping track of all this.
Well, that's what Butler's calling him, and I guess it's a little playful back and forth thing
it's
that
like
they
how
have.
we call you, Margaret.
Yeah, right. Not really many. But here's
Margarita.
the thing. It doesn't, the Alfred thing, even I can handle this one. I've seen Batman a few times.
Hey.
Jimmy Butler, Alfred is the butler.
Yeah, that was the joke last week. Right.
But they've been going with Robin because he's the Robin to Cyrus Batman. So, yeah.
And where's the Buddy Love thing come from?
That's along from college.
Yeah, that's his Instagram handle.
He had a bunch of nicknames in college. He was Buggy. He has like alternate personalities. So he's Buddy Fresh. When he's dressed nicely, he's Buddy Love. When he wants to, I don't know why he's called Buddy Love, but
is Buddy Love stuck until now?
He's tried to make his stick clearly. He's still his Instagram handle.
You heard it in the play-by-play call. From last
Yeah.
hour.
No, I know his Instagram handle is that because I looked up what
is that
Buddy
like Don
Love is.
Juan Buddy Love? Is that are you calling yourself Rico Suave? Like,
I guess
is that
so.
what we mean? He's nice with the ladies. I feel like he's married. I don't know.
I feel like I definitely remember like an ESPN story from like 2015, like where he's sitting down with Jay Bills explaining all his nicknames. Buddy Love is one of them. I remember Buddy Fresh being the other one.
It's funny. I don't think Buddy Hield's married. I don't know why. He's pretty young.
Well, remember he brought the whole entire Sixers team to the
his
Bahamas.
house.
Yeah, so I can't imagine a wife and kids want to deal with Joel Embiid eating all their food
I
in the
wouldn't
refrigerator.
Let's see.
Like
here.
Joel Embiid's a bad house guest. Like, how do we?
He's eating all your food in the refrigerator.
It's a lot of food, man. It's a lot of pigs in a blanket.
He has a daughter. I don't see anything here about a wife.
All right, Buddy Love it is.
Yeah, you only a bachelor pad. You can invite a whole basketball team to your crib. No wife
woman in the world
no
is
wife
like
is handling that. Doc Rivers coming in.
No Knicks get-togethers at the Stewart household?
I was gonna say
not the whole team.
You might not want to bring. Why am I blanking on his name? Who's the Sixer who pretended maybe that he got into a bicycle accident?
Yeah,
Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre. Don't bring that guy
Poppy.
around your wife.
Tsunami Poppy Kelly Oubre.
I'm just saying. I'm sure anyone would be dedicated to
That's a
Buddy
good look-
Love, but I wouldn't test it.
That's a good-looking dude.
Imagine Doc
saying.
Rivers just limping around in your house in house slippers. That's a crazy look.
Yeah, Julius Randle, you're saying never would have had the Knicks over because that guy has his family everywhere with him.
Oh yeah, he actually probably would. I love his his son. Like his son's
the best.
He's almost like
Very
he's
cute.
every Knicks fan's nephew.
Kaiden.
Yeah.
Kaiden, he's the man. But like did that kid go to school? Like what is going? That kid is at every basketball game.
It's late games.
That's
for
late
these young
games.
kids. I thought that about Tatum's kid when he had him there for the finals. I'm like, this game doesn't tip off till 9, but that's just me
That would
being
be clear. I love Kaiden. I love the Randall family. Like and Kaiden's like again like my nephew, but he doesn't go to school. He's at every Knicks
4.
game.
I mean,
No,
Okay.
he's older now. He's like
He's
8
like
or
8,
9.
9 now.
Yeah, he should be in like
He was
4th
4 or
grade.
5 years ago when he came into our lives.
Yeah, when he was younger, I was like, okay, I guess he really doesn't have school. Now, like, he's got to be doing math
one of the-
tables and,
He's
division.
got to start looking at colleges soon.
Division.
It's a major education issue in America. Athletes' sons not going, daughters not
the
going to
amount of
school.
money these guys make, they
they can
probably
afford
have
a
a
tutor.
traveling teacher with them.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you
chefs
guys-
that travel around with them.
truancy, yeah.
If you guys ever want to play, is this professional athlete married or not game? I'm totally down for it. I really have no idea. You know, a lot
What do you like?
a lot of young people might not be married, but might be partners. You know, I think, are a lot of NBA guys are married. Probably a lot of NFL guys get married young.
Of course, it's just like everybody else.
I would lose.
Yeah.
I would lose badly at that game.
Hey, is this guy married?
Yeah, I'm not up on that.
I can do this with Knicks players.
His new quarterback was not married, but now is in an official relationship.
Oh, God.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Joe Burrow.
Saw him.
His employee is now his girlfriend.
Olivia.
Oh, the one that was there when the house got broken
Yeah.
into,
His employee sounds like Bill Belichick.
or discovered it.
It's what he said.
It's the COO of Joe Burrow Productions.
Joe Cool Productions.
But you know what's going to happen? Joe Burrow's going to have her on some red carpet, and then when someone talks about it, he'd be like, hey, don't talk about my private life. God's a clown.
I'm Joe.
What?
Guy's a clown. Wow.
That take was the only thing about Joe Burrow, and I love Joe Burrow. I really just despise that.
You just called him a clown.
No,
for that one thing. I guess.
No, because he was going crazy on the media for like us simply saying, "Hey, the woman that when your house got burgled that you're talking about, like who was she?"
Yeah,
and then he took it as a personal attack.
It's like basically like, stay out of my business. It's like she called 911. She was scared.
Yeah.
Like we're just all trying to get to the bottom of what happened.
I just don't like when you get on your high horse, but then you want all the immediate attention for your stuff also off the field. That's the one thing. That's a grind my gears thing. And Joe Burrow's one of my favorite players, but that was bad.
Did you guys also see Caleb Williams apparently showed up to a Miami restaurant yesterday with 3 models?
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, what a life.
Yeah, the way that it was being portrayed is like they're all there with Caleb. Like, he's got a girlfriend. We just had this whole GQ spread about how they've been together since high school. Maybe everyone doesn't know that. And maybe she's got 2 friends and they're all going to dinner, like as a group.
Technicalities, whatever.
They made it seem like he's walking in like Hugh Hefner with 3 women on his arm. It's like, I don't think that's actually what happened.
That with Haliburton, too, during the Olympics. Like, after they won the gold medal, he walked out with like 9 women. And I was like, I'm pretty sure not all of them were with him.
People say that all the time.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
And did you see the thing with Jaden Daniels?
What's that?
His mom, Jack,
he went out to
hysterical.
Yeah, his mom came as the third wheel on a dinner date with his girlfriend.
Juju Watkins? No? Is that not happening?
Oh, I don't know.
No, it was not. It was definitely not Juju Watkins.
Okay, I wanted that to happen. That was my own selfish thing.
His mom interfering with his relationship. And there was, because earlier there was a thing where his mom was over his shoulder at a wedding. It was a teammate's wedding.
Wait, can moms do this? Can I do this to my kid later?
At a basketball game too?
Well, I know
that was a Juju Watkins.
Okay.
But no, there was a video of him having a great time at a wedding, and his mom is off on the side staring him down. And then she was running after him on a date last night.
I need you guys to watch. I need you guys to watch the show, The Game, because he is basically one of the main characters. Like, wow, Jaden Daniels. He is Malik Wright. It's crazy.
I just feel like, isn't this is like the classic thing, like you don't let your kid watch TV, they're going to go to a friend's house and watch TV, they're going to binge, when they're away from you. You don't let your kid eat sugar, they're going to go to a friend's house and just completely binge out on sugar. You try to keep your kid from dating people, they're going to probably pick the person you would like the least.
What a disgrace.
Well, I just think
you can't control people is what I'm getting at. You gotta put parameters and be a parent. I get that, but you can't be that helicoptery, right?
Yeah,
He's
I don't
a grown
know
up
if
now.
anything and Jaden Daniels' life applies to us, though. No offense to your son. Like, I just think he's Jaden Daniels. He's about to get a $400 million contract. I think he gets different attention from women than Lucas will get.
I don't know. This little girl pulled him around the corner of preschool the other day.
Yeah, maybe Lucas.
What? My kid's really cute.
No, he's
but he's not going to win the Heisman.
I mean, who doesn't say that about their kid?
I know. I think I'm biased, but I think he actually is pretty adorable. But here's the deal. This is Jaden Daniels' mom thinking she's doing the right thing, but you're actually probably not.
I mean, for all we know, he said, "Hey, come on, let's go out to dinner with the gal."
I just don't think this is a normal.
Did you invite your mom on dates when you were single, CeeLo?
But hey, I don't want to pass judgment on Jaden Daniels.
Hey,
maybe he's blazing a new path.
You want to go out on a first date? You want to meet my mom on the first date?
Yeah, that's also a little forward.
Hey, Maggie, you're a woman. Like, if a guy shows up
with his mom.
Is
deal
it
breaker.
just over?
I'm walking around. This is like the Grandpa Simpson walking into the bar and walking right out. I don't even sit at the table.
That's weird. I would have thought that'd be nice. You're like, wow, this guy is nice to his mom. He just showed up at the restaurant with his mother.
Yeah.
Of course you don't show up to a date with your mom. Thanks for that. Do we really need Maggie's insight that women are not turned on by that?
Let me tell you what women really think.
I mean, Jaden Daniels, he's been doing well, so I just wanted to check.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Listen, it's hard to be a professional athlete because you don't, every woman comes on to you. It's way different,
Personal experience?
No, I mean,
JV
I've been around professional athletes and I've seen lines of 30 women waiting to talk to them. That was the exact opposite of my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, the varsity quarterback in my high school that was like 2 and 6 had like 3 girlfriends.
Yeah. Pulling a Caleb Williams, showing up to the club with 3 women.
Like the game, everybody knows the quarterback.
And the 2 and 6 record.
That goes back to your marriage thing. Yeah. That's why a lot of them get married young, right? Before they hit it big, because they feel like you were here before the money came.
I can trust you.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a quick break. CeeLo, thank you. Big trade today. Huge news. George Pickens on his way to Dallas. We got it all for you next.
Look at that.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie Perloff Show. Major news this morning. If you're just waking up and you're like, oh, maybe it'll just be a nice quiet Wednesday. No. Dallas Cowboys have made a major trade connecting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It will be wide receiver George Pickens, who's on his way to Dallas for a 3rd-round pick and then a day 3 pick swap, a 6th-rounder for a 5th-rounder in 2027. So, Perloff, this is Dallas trying to add to their offense. We were wondering why they didn't meaningfully add a wide receiver in the draft. This trade had been worked on for a little bit, so you've got your answer there. Yep. And now it's up to George Pickens. You know, Mike Tomlin said he's got to grow up. Now he's here with Dallas in the last year of his contract. It's all up to him. I mean, I don't know what kind of numbers he could put up, but he could show the rest of the league or the Cowboys, I'm worth investing in because I'm not going to be a distraction with my personal foul penalties or off the field or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mentioned the draft, I think at number 12, they would have definitely drafted Tedero McMillan and not done this trade. But McMillan went 8 to the Panthers. It turns out there's a lot of reports everybody wanted this guy, tall receiver out of Arizona. So they didn't get the receiver in the draft. I think that's what delayed this. I think that they were trying to keep their options open. And now, so they, according to a report up there, Annie,
yep.
I just don't see this as a needle mover that I think some people, including you, are going to see it. Yes, they desperately need a wide receiver too, but I'm just not sure style-wise this is exactly what they need.
Listen, they've been trying to solve the wide receiver 2 thing, and this is more like a 1A, if we're being honest, in terms of Pickens' talent.
Yeah, he's built like a 1.
I mean, Dallas has been trying to solve this, so I have to commend them when they actually do take a swing. Is anything and everything going to be perfect all the time? No, listen, the Pittsburgh Steelers traded for DK Metcalf. We could tear that apart if we wanted to.
But that's way more exciting than this. I mean, DK Metcalf's a guy who's had multiple 1,000-yard years receiving. Pickens has never really produced consistently at all.
Well, my question is, what's it going to look like with the Steelers with DK Metcalf? Like, there's 2 sides of this trade, obviously, like there always is. There's one part for the Dallas, and Dallas Cowboy fans, you're welcome to call us at 888-710-4ISN. Are you a little relieved today? You actually added something. It certainly made the season look a lot more optimistic if, if like Pickens buys in. But then for the Steelers side of it, what's going on with this franchise?
Well, I mean, Pickens, he did nothing in the second half of last year. I know he was hurt on and off, but he was almost a non-factor. So you're saying, what are they going to look like? They're going to look exactly the same.
I'm in a quarterback and everything else, too. Like, is the goal for the Steelers to just do this thing again where you make the playoffs and have to go on the road and get potentially, beaten by either a division rival or someone else? Or is the goal to bring in Aaron Rodgers and have this sort of, all right, let's go for it season with a 41-year-old quarterback?
I think they're going to try and bring in Rodgers and try to have another good season. I just don't think they're that interested in rebuilding completely. Now, we had a caller earlier who said the best thing for them to do would start Mason Rudolph and go 4-13 and get a high pick next year. The truth is, Mason Rudolph will probably win you games. I'm sure he's around a 500. Look at his record in Pittsburgh. I bet you it's over 500. He's a competent second-string quarterback. Honestly.
In that division, though?
But let me ask you this. George Pickens trade today, I guarantee the win total is not going to move. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I do not think the win total moves on Pittsburgh at all. I'm sure it stays exactly where it is, at probably 8.5, I would imagine. Yeah, you say in that division. Wouldn't we have said that last year?
Yeah, but, at the end of the season, it really did matter. They lost 5 in a row. It's
the same because they finally played some good teams. They lost 5 in a row to the best teams in the NFL. They're the same team. Watch Tomlin squeak out a 9-8 season, Meg.
And I think Steeler fans are just ready to throw their hands up.
Yeah.
How do you feel after the trade? George Pickens on his way to Dallas from Pittsburgh. That's the news this morning. 888-710-4ISN. It's also Wednesday, which means it's the great debate. Hold tight.
Get your damn act together.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, if you were waiting for the Dallas Cowboys to do something substantive, they've done it. Trade this morning. It's the big news. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. George Pickens indeed on his way from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Dallas Cowboys. The return is a third-round pick, Pearl, and a pick swap. That's third-round pick in 2026, a pick swap in 2027, sixth round for a fifth-round pick. So Dallas gets a second receiver to pair with CeeDee Lamb. Brian Schottenheimer gets another weapon to play with, Dak Prescott as well, and we'll see about the offense. And then for the Pittsburgh Steelers side of things, Yeah, we talked about this the day they traded for DK Metcalf. Yes, we definitely did. Was
Yeah,
it a little
because
redundant? But the question is, where's Pittsburgh going here? They still don't have a starting quarterback on their roster and now just traded away a weapon.
Right, but there is an assumption that Aaron Rodgers will eventually sign there.
But
And
why?
I'll tell you, here to me are the choices for the Steelers. Sign Aaron Rodgers and go for it this year. If Rodgers does not sign, then you're rebuilding. That's just the reality.
And
that you
leave
can't
it up
avoid.
to him. Like, put the ball in his court. Like, hey, we're going to pivot our whole strategy based on if Aaron Rodgers wants to come here.
No, and Rodgers has nothing to do with it. If he says yes, then we'll take you.
Okay.
If he says no, eventually he'll say no, I assume. Then you say, all right, we're going to go with Mason Rudolph, maybe a rebuilding year. They need a rebuilding year, obviously. When is the last time they've been bad? I can't even remember. Was it the year they drafted Big Ben? Was that 2004?
Yeah, right before. And they did get Big Ben, and it set the franchise on a different course, right?
Yeah.
And it ended up being super successful.
You kind of have to get bad to get a quarterback.
So, I mean, doesn't that just make more sense now? Because here's the thing about DK Metcalf. If you want to be bad for one season, yeah, you got to manage Metcalf. Again, that's why you have Mike Tomlin. This is why you have a strong coach and a strong voice and leader. Metcalf's not for one season. You know, you trade a second-round pick, you paid him. Like, he's not going anywhere, so why not try to rebuild? Now, the one thing I would probably think about if I were the Steelers, and I'm not saying that George Pickens naturally means, oh, we've got to fold the tent up for this season. We've been talking about this with the Steelers for a while. Why not see what you get for TJ Watt? Like, are you really a 30-year-old TJ Watt? I know that he's so important to the Steelers organization, and it could be painful in the short term, but don't you have to see what you can get for him? If you're trying to stock load draft capital for next year to try to get a franchise quarterback, is he not the most interesting asset you have?
Well, I mean, if you view him that way, are you sure the league doesn't view him that way? He's 30. He was clearly hurt last year, whether he admits it or not, and he's got to get paid a lot of money. So what are you going to get for him? You might get a first-round pick. But
do you think so? I don't know if you get a first round.
Oh, for TJ Watt? 100% you get a first round pick. I mean, what would you have gotten for Myles Garrett?
I mean, you're right. You're right. I understand.
TJ Watt's a year older than Garrett, I think, but it's still, I think he's arguably a little bit better because TJ Watt is a forced fumble machine.
Yeah.
He's maybe one of the greatest forced fumblers of all time. So I just think that why would you trade him, though? You're not going to get anyone back like him.
Well,
you get like the 25th pick.
Are you talking about different timelines now, right?
Like, yeah, I know what you mean.
You really want them to, like, I'm just wondering more and more. I was all high on Rodgers going to the Steelers. So I'm like, this gives you the best shot, the best chance. But to be honest, like, I'm just not sure how far you get with Rodgers. And if you do want to stockpile draft picks for next year, I mean, TJ Watt really helps you with that. Really helps you. Because they didn't have a second-round pick this year because of DK Metcalf, and you wonder maybe if they had liked a quarterback, they could have had maybe, I don't know, whoever.
You know what? I just generally don't think that Pittsburgh views themselves as rebuilding. They were just in the playoffs. They have some talented pieces. There's no doubt about it. They have TJ Watt, as you just mentioned. Now they have DK Metcalf. They have Joey Porter Jr. They've been trying. Now they built up the interior line after the Ravens ran all over them. So they tried to draft there. You know, we count out the Steelers and then watch them do something this year.
Right.
They are one of those teams.
I know, but here's the thing. If you're going to be one of those teams that feels like they're so either beholden to their fan base or they're so good at this that they can't afford to tank ever, right? If they're one of those franchises, like the New York Yankees, Manny's beloved New York Yankees, who never feel like they can be one of those teams that fully goes in the tank, right? Because they've got to spend, they've got to keep up with the biggest teams and all of that. Then why has your quarterback situation been this dicey? Like, if you are really one of these teams who feels like, man, we could never afford to tank, we're above that, or whatever, then why are you leaving your quarterback situation up to whether or not Aaron Rodgers feels like playing this year?
So who should they have signed?
I'm just saying, listen.
They've been, because you know how you get a quarterback? You stink and you get a top 10 pick. That's the only proven way to get a quarterback, and they cannot do that. I'm not saying that they cannot do that. Like, they won't do that.
I would have kept Russell Wilson.
To do it. Okay. Now, kept him for what?
I would have kept him, I'm saying.
Yeah, for what?
Well, is Rodgers going to be that much better?
Yes.
I don't know.
Hey, Seattle.
Yes, I think Aaron Rodgers will be much better than Russell Wilson was last year.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. But does it get you to the same spot, which is your wild card team that ends up losing in the first round?
Absolutely.
I'm glad we can agree on that. Jay is our pal in Nashville. Jay, you see the Steelers traded away George Pickens, and you're saying what?
Not saying anything. I mean, people forget these are the Steelers we're talking about. Like, they're the last of the Mohicans in the NFL organization that just personifies stabilization and everything. And as far as, whether we all know Aaron Rodgers going to end up over there. Because him and Mike Tomlin, you ever see, every time Rodgers plays the Steelers, it's not Rodgers against that other team. It's Rodgers and Mike Tomlin going at each other. Because you can see them communicate, even when Rodgers on the field. He's looking over at the sideline at Tomlin like, yeah, I caught that. And Tomlin looking back at him like, yeah, I got you. So they're in each other's heads already. So they're too good of a combo or like thinkers to not be on the same team. I think Tomlin's just letting him do what he wants to do. And then I think somebody called Tomlin mediocre Mike. Like, dude, the Steelers, even with the bare potential, still go to the playoffs almost every year. Even if Mason Rudolph is going to be their quarterback, for some reason they're going to get into the playoffs.
I know, but Jay, the fan base is saying that's not good enough anymore. It's not good enough to go to the playoffs and lose in the first round. Jay, I'm sorry, I got to let you go because your phone sounds real janky today. But here's and I appreciate the call, but like the Tomlin Rodgers thing, yeah, sure. I think honestly, like, the guys who have been around this long, I think there is that mutual respect. Like, I think Rodgers could have played for Belichick. I think he'd play for Tomlin. I think that he could play for these guys who he's had these battles with, over the years. Listen, Tomlin and Rodgers faced each other in a Super Bowl. I mean, it's a long time ago. But, yeah, they've got a lot of history. That's not the part of it that I'm worried about, quite frankly, at all. I'm worried about if you do have a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming in, why would you be trading weapons away if you're in an all-in kind of year for him, even if it's a redundant skill set with DK Metcalf?
Well, because you want a guy who has a good attitude. I mean, I was just reading the recap. I had forgotten about these Tomlin quotes. He said that George Pickens had to grow up during the season. Then he said it in the final day press conference. This dude needs to grow up. He made some progress, but not enough. I mean, obviously, Mike Tomlin is not a guy who throws everybody under the bus. This was not happening. I think this is addition by subtraction for the Steelers. I have zero problem for them getting rid of George Pickens. That doesn't mean I'm judging the Cowboys for bringing him in, but for the Steelers, this totally makes sense to me. You're going to have him sitting on the sideline, not getting targets. You think that would have gone well? Do you think he would have been happy with whoever the quarterback is? Especially if it's not Rodgers. You think he would have been okay with Mason Rudolph not feeding him the ball?
No, this is why I like this for the Dallas Cowboys, because I do think that he is going to get I think he should get targets and touches with Dak Prescott. I know it's Brian
Schottenheimer. Oh, I don't know.
Shotty loves to run the ball, but here's the situation there. Everybody should want to run the ball.
I hear you. But
your Philadelphia Eagles just ran to a Super Bowl. You had Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith. And I know A.J. Brown was a little, dicey in the middle of the season.
Saquon Barkley.
But you kept everybody relatively happy. The winning took care of itself. And you did run to a Super Bowl.
That was a miracle that A.J. Brown didn't implode. A miracle. It took whatever book he was reading. Thank God.
What was it called? Inner Peace?
Yeah, we needed that. Inner Peace because I'm not touching the ball. He was clearly upset. But just to give a little perspective on overrating a trade. Not that we did this. When Jerry bragged about getting Jonathan Mingo, traded a 4th-round pick, very similar trade to this trade. He played 8 games and had 5 catches.
Well, he didn't know the playbook.
I'm just saying, Jerry can talk about trades. That doesn't mean they're going to work out. Trey Lance,
That was a lot of Cooper
pick.
Rush games, no?
I don't care who is the quarterback. He had 5 catches in 8 games, Maggie. Do the math. That's about half a catch per game.
Yeah, they're working them in. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. So that's the big news this morning, the big trade. George Pickens goes to the Dallas Cowboys, and the Pittsburgh Steelers now have DK Metcalf, yeah, but what else is going on in Pittsburgh? Yeah?
They're working him in. I'm sorry. They're slowly adjusting the offense.
It's a little play.
We'll see how they work in George Pickens. There's a lot TBD here.
Let's get to the great debate.
The Great Debate Series.
I'm going to give full credit here to Andrew Perloff. This is a Perloff pick today, and I loved it. Very different from some of the other great debates that we've had, which we do this every Wednesday. We loosely base it on the news. Did you base this off the news, or it just came to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Today is the conclave. They're going to pick a new pope at a certain point. What if there was a pope of sports or an all-around commissioner? Guy who's not just commissioner of his league, but commissioner of all of sports. Speaks for the fans, speaks for the athletes. He's going to run the whole show.
Okay, so
she, by the way, sorry.
Right. So this is everything from what happened with NIL to how does the NHL do their playoff seeding to
Banning the tush push.
Banning the tush push to how many international games is the NFL going to have? Like, this person just has full autonomy over all of sports.
Will there be an NHL All-Star game? Will there be NBA? What's their format?
Where's Cooper Flagg going?
Yes.
Just kidding.
Oh, he's a lottery.
That's my own conspiracy theory. All right, so who is the sports commissioner?
Yeah.
Who would be the best at being the overarching, all-knowing commissioner of not just a sport, but sports?
Okay, I'll start off.
Go ahead.
If that's okay. So you can't... I was advised no one here pick a politician because you're only going to appeal to 50% of the country if you pick a politician. I would advise don't pick any of the current commissioners because then you'll appeal to only about 3% of the country because we hate all those guys.
You get booed.
I was looking around who has the highest Q rating in America, and there's been one person who's pretty consistent.
Who is it?
Who does not like The Rock? Guy's already the UFL commissioner. Guy's on the WWE board of whatever. He's played high-level college football. He's been arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Has his hands in everything. Knows sports, and everybody loves The Rock.
After 3 boring minutes, The Rock says, "Know your role and shut your mouth."
Yeah.
Is that a victory speech when he gets elected sports commissioner?
Yes, I think The Rock would fit in every sport. I don't know which sports he knows the best. I've never heard him talk about hockey, but heck, he's a tough guy. I'm sure he'd love it. The Rock can basically fit all the needs of an overall sports commissioner.
It'd be entertaining. Okay, we're asking who should be just the commissioner of sports, one all-knowing, overarching presence. I went with somebody who's got a little bit more experience.
The Rock's already a commissioner of the UFL, but go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to go with somebody who has been successful and become synonymous with not just winning, but problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And that person is Theo Epstein. Theo Epstein, breaker of curses, both with the Red Sox and with the Cubs, and now working with Major League Baseball on some of the most substantive changes that have happened to that sport in terms of speeding up play, getting out some of that dead time, all of these, what I think most people now love about baseball, something that has helped baseball immensely. Theo Epstein's behind it. Clearly, he's innovative.
Wait, he is?
Yes. He's working in the commissioner's office, and he's the one who's been behind these. Rob Manfred's getting the credit, but Theo Epstein is the brains behind this thing. And I can see he can diagnose problems not just within a team, but within a sport. And I think that could be a universal skill. Theo Epstein.
Back to Folk. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have finally won it all.
Theo Epstein, the architect of 2 curse-breaking runs, Red Sox and Cubs, make him the commissioner of all sports. He's got the Midas touch. All right, EJ, who should be the commissioner of all sports?
Okay, this one was tough because I don't actually really like this guy that much because of some of the off the field, off the ring, whatever, things that he's been involved with.
Out the office.
But I think when we think about commissioners, I don't know if I broke the rules here, but he really isn't a commissioner of the major sports. I'm going with Dana White.
Bet against me. Tell me it's not going to happen. Tell me it's going to fail. I love it. I love every minute of it.
I think Dana White has shown that he could take something that was very much outside the mainstream. Mixed martial arts was just not really had any footprint in terms of being a major sport. And he has turned that into an absolutely lucrative corporation. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. I think a lot of the stuff in terms of domestic violence and a lot of things that are very unsavory with Dana White, but he has shown to be a guy that gets things done. He's shown a guy that he can put in rules, put in reform, put in whatever his sport needs in order to push it ahead. So I think if he was running the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NFL and he was really kind of ruling with an iron fist, I think a lot of the things that the fans complain about, we'd get that fixed really fast. That's one thing about the UFC. You want to see a good fight, he's going to give you a good fight. A fighter is trying to, mess around with, not want to be a part of the game. All right, you're out. Like, he's not somebody that's going to mess around. So to me, Dana White has the right temperament when it comes to actually business that I think would be good. Personal, not so much, but business, I would take Dana White any day.
Yeah, he would be a horrible pick, but I'll give you my reasons why in a minute. Sorry, EJ. Manny, who should be the commissioner of all of sports?
You really stumped me on this one. I literally did not have a choice until about 20 minutes ago. But I will go with an individual who took a team that was known for its constant mediocrity. Additionally, this individual was an agent, so I think he can handle that NIL aspect. I'm going to go with, call me a homer, Knicks president, Leon Rose.
Oh, get out.
We want to find the right leader that can develop our young players as well as hold everyone accountable.
Oh, my God, this is so boring.
From development to becoming a perennial winner.
That guy's inspirational, Maggie. I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you want an inspirational, fun guy as your commissioner? You want the boring guy who doesn't talk. Give me Leon.
There's something to that. The under-the-radar guy, the more shadowy figure as opposed to Perloff's pick of The Rock.
Well, I like where he's going. Sort of, I think Worldwide West or somebody like Phil Knight or somebody who's really a shoe guy would have made perfect sense. I don't know. Leon Rose feels connected to that world for some reason.
Yeah, he was a super agent.
Right. I think a shoe guy would have been perfect. So you're in the right direction.
I take Michael Jordan then.
We are asking. Yeah, he did a great job with the Hornets. Whatever.
Bobcats owner.
We are asking who should be the commissioner of all sports, just the czar, if you will. CeeLo, who do you think it should be?
All right. Well, this is not recency bias just because we've been talking about him this morning, and it's not because I feel bad that he's hurt. In fact, I would say the NBA of the four major sports, probably my least favorite. But I'm going with Steph Curry.
You never know exactly how it's going to unfold, and you just have that faith and drive, and to have this and have that special attachment to first unanimous MVP award winner is definitely special. So thank you guys for voting for me.
In today's day and age, tough to find an athlete that's almost universally liked. Now, of course, teams that have to face the Warriors, I'm sure, would feel a little bit differently.
Yeah, the Petty King. You've nominated the Petty King.
This is a guy where I feel like every time I hear him speak,
I'm the Petty King.
Well thought out, intelligent, pretty gracious and humble for the most part, I would say. Now, I'm sure you'll have some detractors over the years, the chewing on the mouth guard, maybe some of the celebrations after 3 points or 3-point shots. But look, he can golf. I feel like he's got. I'm saying he's got a lot of the sports covered. I feel like he's pretty well versed in the other sports. Obviously, he's got the basketball angle covered.
Big Carolina Panthers fan.
So, I think he checks a lot of the boxes. Came from a small school, kind of unheralded in college. Got the most out of his body and his abilities.
Right.
So
has he ever had a good idea?
I don't know.
Come on, if you're going to go an NBA star,
sign KD.
If you're going an NBA star who's going to be commissioner of all sports. Who's the person that comments on all sports constantly?
Yeah, but just commenting.
And it would be LeBron James.
Doesn't necessarily.
LeBron James would nominate himself for this role.
And that's why he's eliminated for me.
Yeah, but that's the only thing about you started this thing off by saying if you're going to name a commissioner of sports, don't go politician because 50% of the people love and 50% will hate.
Yeah,
LeBron's kind of like
that.
Right. But
that's why I went away from him.
Exactly though. If you're telling me who wants to be commissioner of sports, Steph Curry or LeBron, it's LeBron who actually
wants to. Sure,
LeBron will figure out a way. He wants to be commissioner of sports so his sons can actually succeed in some sport.
Easier to get Bryce drafted into any of the major sports.
Steph Curry has no interest in this.
Well, I didn't know that was part of our qualifications for this fake made up hypothetical game we're playing.
I think you have to want the job. Like EJ's choice, Dana White definitely wants this job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leon Rose definitely does not want the job.
Leon Rose, does he not? He doesn't not want that?
No shot. Guy doesn't even speak to the New York media. Now he's going to be the commissioner of all sports?
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, he does not want to be publicly held
accountable.
accountable.
Who doesn't talk would be fascinating.
All right, so this is today's great debate. This is a Perloff pick with the conclave now meeting to elect the next pope.
Yeah.
Who could be, I would say the next sports pope, because that's was the nickname of a famous radio host in the New York area, Mike Francesa. But who would be the best sports czar? Who would be the best commissioner of all sports?
And by the way, there is an elephant in the room here.
What's
Obviously, you said LeBron would nominate himself. There's one person who thinks he is. Stephen A. Smith already thinks he's the commissioner of sports. And
he would take the job.
Yeah, he's like, well, I don't know if that's big enough because he wants to be president. Apparently, he's about to appear in a Law and Order episode. I don't know. Stephen A. obviously thinks he is already. I'd be curious if anyone would. I thought someone might choose him.
Did Goodell ever do a couple episodes of General Hospital?
Yeah.
I love everybody.
It'd be hilarious if this job wasn't big enough because Stephen A. is like on the Democratic ticket or Republican. Actually, I have no idea what party.
Stay off the weed.
Yeah. Bill Simmons has nominated himself, the pundit, many
I'm sure
times.
Cowherd would. I mean, listen, if we're being honest, you and I would. We think we have good ideas.
No, But I would want somebody like my former boss, Dan Patrick, who's a little more middle of the road, more rational, can see both sides of an argument.
I could see Dan
I think
being
like
a good
Stephen A.
sports
would be too emotional to be the czar of all sports.
Yeah, he just award the Knicks the championship every year somehow.
I would want some.
Go New York, go State, go New York, go New York, go.
I would want someone like Dan who had a little more common sense. You know what I mean? I think Stephen A. would just say, you know what? Yeah, Oklahoma City Thunder, you won the trophy, but we're going to give it to the Knicks this year.
I know. Dan is like everybody's cool uncle. You know?
No, Dan's very, does not let his emotions take over. That's what you need in this position. That's why Theo's a good choice, too. He's very analytical. But I think you underestimate, by the way. I thought you poo-pooed The Rock. You're like entertaining. The Rock is a businessman first and foremost. I mean,
I don't like him.
Yeah, The Rock is closer to the sports commissioner. He's got his hands in everything.
Nobody said Jay-Z, by the way.
Yeah. That Nets thing didn't go well.
Oh, that's right.
Fair. He was like a 1% owner.
He moved the Nets to Brooklyn and then sold the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that role in the NFL. He picks a halftime show, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's been okay.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
Love Kendrick. See him Friday.
All right, so we've got the big trade for you that went down this morning. Dallas Cowboys trading for George Pickens. We'll get back to that. What does it mean for Dallas? What does it mean for Pittsburgh? So much to unpack. And then our great debate today. We would never shortchange you on that. It's Wednesday, for goodness sakes. Who would be the best sports commissioner? All sports. Give us your take. 888-710-4ISN.
You don't want to make an enemy out of me.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. Great debate Wednesday, fun one today. Who would you name the ultimate sports commissioner? Not for one sport, but for all sports. So we have very eclectic choices, I would say today, Maggie. You want to run through everybody?
Yeah, Perloff, you went with The Rock. I went with Theo Epstein. EJ went with Dana White. Manny went with Knicks president, former super agent Leon Rose. And CeeLo went with Steph Curry. A lot of choices still out there. We should update you also on the big news from this morning, which is George Pickens has been traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Dallas Cowboys. This is one of those trades that was sort of out there a couple weeks ago. We thought maybe it cooled off, and lo and behold, a third-round pick goes back to the Steelers and a pick swap in 2027. So 2026 third-rounder and then 2027 pick swap.
Yeah, there's a lot of reporting out. Albert Breer reported that there's no new deal in this agreement. But sometimes there's a trade, and almost immediately they sign a new deal. That George Pickens is coming up at the end of his contract, but they haven't reached an agreement, so he'll probably be playing for a new contract, which could be good. A motivated George Pickens is probably a very effective George Pickens.
Can't just hand him over a boatload of money. He doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Yep. He's an all-time talent, great talent, but doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. So before we get to, so we got two things on the table for you. Who should be the ultimate sports commissioner, and would they have approved this George Pickens trade? I think they would have.
They're going to Chris Paul it and say, you can't do this?
And then what do you think of the trade? Adrian's in Maryland. Adrian, you do not like this for the Cowboys.
I didn't say, I won't say I don't like it. It's a fine. I talked to my son this morning. I said a third rounder for him. That's fine. That's what it came out to be. Also, no new deal. That's the thing. If you give him a deal, then he's 100% going to act up. So no new deal. He plays for his new contract. I'm not going to say I don't like the deal. I just, like I said yesterday, I told you, Maggie, I didn't like his attitude. Mm-hmm. But without a new deal, I think he's he's not going to have a new attitude, but he knows he can't. He's playing for his future money. So that's a good thing. I'm not going to be one of these fans that say, "Oh, he's terrible one day, but now he's on my team, so he's great."
Right.
So we'll see what happens. Only thing I had a problem with is last year, Jerry. He just succumbed to the media and took Mingo and gave him a fourth rounder. We could have still had that fourth rounder this year and made a pick with it and still got picked in. So So we'll see. But it's not a bad trade. Like I said, third rounder, that's nothing. Pick swap, probably going to be like a 6th or 7th rounder, something like that. So, and you get a good talent for third round.
Adrian, you were talking about George Pickens yesterday?
Yeah. You guys were, because Maggie was talking about.
I thought
Pickens
it was over. It was done. The report was that it had completely cooled off. And then lo and behold, here we are. Adrian, I like your attitude towards this, and thank you for the call, because you're going into it with a clear eyes, right? Clear eyes, which is, you know that Pickens is a bit of a head case. Mm-hmm. You've seen the personal foul penalties on the field. You've heard the stuff off the field in terms of Tomlin saying he needs to be mature. Yep. And that was partly on the field stuff too. And now he's in a prove-it deal. But if he can't get his act together for this, contract year with a fresh start in Dallas, then he'll never get it together. So, you take a flyer on him. The third-round pick doesn't kill you.
Yeah, it's funny, though. This is the third flyer the Cowboys have taken. 2 fourth-rounders, one for Trey Lance, didn't do anything. One for Jonathan Mingo, the receiver, did nothing.
Well, yet.
Oh, come on.
I don't know.
They just traded for George Pickens. They obviously have no faith in Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo was the great receiver that was promised and never has delivered at all. Big, strong, on paper looks great, but it can't do anything on an NFL field. Yeah, for some reason, I just can't get excited about this. I just don't. You know what it is? Like everything around these Cowboys, they would be surprising to me if they were a really good team. I really would be surprised this year.
I'm more interested in the offense now than I was 24 hours ago.
I'll give you that, but how interested is that?
888-710-4ISN. So while we're talking about this trade, we're also asking you, who should be the commissioner of all of sports? Like, they're responsible for everything. Adam is in Indiana. He's got some star power to his picks. What's up, Adam?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on. I think, I'm a big soccer guy, but I think Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, you got an American, you got a Canadian. They get along very well. They've obviously done very good things at Wrexham with minimal money and back-to-back promotions. I think it would be great to have co-commissioners and one represent the United States, one represent the Canadian teams and help build the leagues. That way, obviously, no Canadian teams in NFL, but they're sports guys. I think they could get it done. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it'd be nice to have an Eagles fan running the whole show and Rob McElhenney, creator of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That'd be amazing for me.
Awful for everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about co-signing on that.
The
but
first
society.
I did not think of the Canadian-American aspect of this with the NHL. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the first episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, there is a reference that was only for me. Rob McElhenney's character gets furiously upset because the storekeeper hadn't heard of Von Hayes, 1980s Phillies outfielder who played before Manny was born. He is a diehard sports fan, and Ryan Reynolds is not a sports fan at all, which makes the show. Reynolds obviously jumped on this Wrexham thing. He feels like a bandwagon guy to me. Oh. I watch the show, and I love the show. And they're both great. It's not a bad pick.
I haven't watched the show.
You haven't seen Welcome to Wrexham?
I'm sorry. I didn't like Ted Lasso.
Oh, you should be the point for that or something. My goodness.
You didn't actively dislike it, did you? I mean, you just weren't into it.
I just wasn't into it.
Okay. Because you kind of got like Ted Lasso. He's so nice.
I don't know. People were losing their mind over that show.
You didn't believe?
I guess I don't believe.
You suck.
Cody's in California. Cody, who should be the sports czar?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning. I'm going to say Tony Romo. I think he'd be a pretty good pick for it. He's not too bad of a sports analyst. He might not know all the other sports, but I'm sure he has a general idea of it, and I think he'd be a pretty good pick.
Can I just say I like this? And I think that Tony Romo is not getting enough credit for one headline this week. The NFL draft in 2027 is going to Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. It's going to be on the National Mall. And I think the symbolism of where Martin Luther King made his famous speech, because Tony Romo was the one who stepped up and really finally celebrated Martin Luther King in the NFL. So Romo basically got the draft there. Am I right, guys?
To learn more,
Visit realizethedream.org.
What a day. Martin Luther King Jr. deserves to have a day named after him.
Yep. This is a guy, he should be the sports commissioner.
Yeah, that's the new I have a dream.
He is a guy who understands American history. He understands. He totally, I mean, it's true. Guy totally deserved a day named after him.
Low-key, this is going to be fire.
Does deserve a day.
I don't know what they mean.
Does he have to start off every press conference with, "Here we go, Jim"?
Facts.
Where do you put Maggie, Tony Romo on your list of potential overall sports commissioners?
1/1,000,000th.
What a day.
I would not pick Romo, although
Nance would be good.
Nance I could see. CeeLo picked Steph Curry, and one of the reasons he said is because he's a good golfer, which means like in theory he's getting deals done, I think, on the golf course is what CeeLo was going for. Romo, also a very good golfer.
I don't know if that's what CeeLo was going for.
Well, no one's saying Tom Brady. Nobody wants Brady.
Brady makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Larry is in Pennsylvania. Larry, who would make the best sports commissioner?
All right, I'm going to go old school. He was MVP in his sport 3 years in a row. After he left his sport, he went on to coach and was coach of the year. After he left coaching, he went to the executive. He won the executive of the year. Level-headed. He'll tell you where the bear craps in the woods if he has to. Mm-hmm. He will align himself with many, many people around him who know each of the different genres. A commissioner makes decisions after he analyzes. Larry Bird.
You know, Larry, he doesn't have the bedside manner. You know, he's not exactly shaking hands and kissing babies, but it's not a bad pick. I mean, no. Larry Bird has been successful on multiple. What about Larry and Magic together? Could they team up? Because Magic's got the personality and also, you know, the skills. Larry
Bird has no interest in doing this. He didn't even want to coach or be like, Magic, yes. Magic watches all sports and puts out the obvious social media posts. Larry's not interested in this job. You need someone who wants to be there, Maggie. He'd quit after a year. He'd be bored and go back home and drink beer. He has no interest in this.
You are miscalculating Larry's competitive spirit. Once you put a challenge in front of Larry Bird, he takes it and runs with it.
Then why did he walk away from coaching and then running a team?
Because he got to the... What, did he get to the finals? Wait. Indiana Pacers, 2000, right? He had achieved. He'd done all he could do.
You think he wants to get in there on a podium and talk about all sports? Larry, he would be good, but he doesn't want it.
I mean, he was a president for the Pacers for a long time.
So Jerry West, may he rest in peace, would have been also a phenomenal choice. It's a little like Bird, where he was a great player, great executive.
And a great talker. Larry Bird does not want to be sports commissioner. I disagree with you. There's no way he would want to show up to the office and say, "Where's the NHL All-Star game going to be this year?" Magic, yes. Magic I could
French
see.
Lick, Indiana.
But that'd be hilarious. But here's the thing. Is that part of the exercise the person has to accept?
Yes, you have to be a front-facing figure. And Larry has no interest in that. And Magic, however... Yes, he would be a great commissioner. I mean, some of his analysis on Twitter, I think last night he said, and I quote, "That was a great win by the Pacers." Deep thinker. No, Larry, Magic's run stuff too.
I'm not going to be here.
Magic's run like 47 different businesses. If you give me Magic in there, then it's fine.
Magic is a phenomenal businessman. I mean, he is a billionaire. Not so much with the Lakers, but he is a great businessman.
Magic Johnson actual sentence on Twitter last night. Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton hit the game-winning three to put the Pacers up 2-0 in the series against the Cavaliers.
Correct.
Newswire.
Yeah, if you don't know about that, he's famous for obvious tweets. He's the Captain Obvious of social media.
Isn't he also now a football owner?
Yeah.
The Commanders.
And Dodgers.
He's already in multiple sports.
He's winning rings left and right, and he's probably building the Commanders into something good.
He's also trying to take the Associated Press out of business.
Right. Who needs him?
You got Magic Johnson tweets.
Oh, I was going to say, I didn't know that he was anti-AP. I know.
He's on their corner.
No, the White House doesn't like the AP, but I didn't know Magic was in on that.
Yeah, Adam is in Vancouver, British Columbia. Who should be the commissioner of all sports, Adam?
Hey, good morning, guys. Long time no talk. I'm going to go a little off the board here with someone who is very connected, knows all about fitness and recovery. I'm going to go with Joe Rogan.
He's got the platform, that's for sure. The popular podcast, obviously, the connections to UFC, Adam, are there. But, polarizing guy. And here's the thing. I think a sports commissioner is actually trying to tamp down the conspiracy theories around their sports. Like David Stern famously would get so upset if you even approached the frozen envelope, right? It was almost like doth protest too much. You can't be playing into conspiracy theories when you're a sports commissioner because everyone wants to think everything's on the level.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's whole shtick would be gone because if you can't do conspiracy theories, what else do you have?
Yeah, no, but he does seem to have the energy and the interest level in different things. Now, I'm curious because a lot of UFC fans I know are not fans of the mainstream sports. Is Joe Rogan into football and all this? Does he have to bring in Adam Carolla or somebody to help him with it? I don't know. I don't see him tweeting about
his deputy commissioner,
the NBA
Adam
and the
Carolla?
NFL. I did have Rodgers on. And by the way, that's a guy who would take the job.
Rodgers would definitely take the job. And he's extremely online, so he'd always be very aware of his Q rating.
Rodgers would want the job.
But again, the conspiracy
kind of a
theories.
quiet life.
The conspiracy theories, if you take that away from his repertoire, what's left?
No, Aaron loves a huge NBA head.
A
lifetime NBA fan. I think Aaron Rodgers would definitely be interested in it.
There's actually a couple Dolphins out there. I might need to get out there.
Yeah, Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Aaron can't even decide if he wants to play for the Steelers. I don't know if he's decisive enough.
Yeah, imagine Aaron Rodgers having to make a decision on a suspension. You know how long that would take?
That's a big llama.
We go down to Costa Rica and ruminate on it while I think about caterpillars turning into butterflies while I'm zooted out of my mind on ayahuasca.
We're going to name Randall Cobb the new MLB commissioner. Lazard, you get the NHL.
Tim Boyle.
Yeah, AJ Hawk, you are now the boxing president.
Yeah, and Pat McAfee would be.
McAfee be the speaker of the head of communications. Oh, McAfee. Oh,
McAfee.
Two sports, football and pro wrestling. Pat McAfee would be an interesting choice. Why? Got the energy. Got the guys on the side who would help out.
Certainly
Ty
the energy.
And Boston.
We think he's been cloned, and that's how he can actually. 3 sports really, because he does college football too. Yep. Game day.
Oh,
Did anyone want to bring up Saban as the commissioner of all sports?
Well, he's been a big name to be the commissioner of college football.
What's up with that?
Because now that college football has general managers and stuff, people are thinking they need a real professional commissioner. Saban is the obvious choice if he wants it.
Yeah, well, the players should not be in favor of that if they want to keep getting paid because it looks like Saban wants to start clawing money back from them. At least that's the latest headlines. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. So 2 big things out here for you. One, the big news today. Big trade. George Pickens is on his way to Dallas in exchange for a 3rd-round pick and a 6th to 5th round pick swap with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you think about it from the Dallas side? I like it. What do you think about it from the Pittsburgh side? I'm confused. More on that next.
I want to let you know the people of Pittsburgh will respect the fact you're driving around in a boo, brother.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.
was waiting by that glowing screen, hoping night shift crown would go to the king. Ship held it down night after night, with fire in his voice and truth in his mic. But the news came in like a cold hard slap. Pat Boyle's got it, felt like a trap. No shade on the kid, but let's be real, Shepherd earned a late night deal. Now Shepherd ain't sleeping and dailies in tears. The Shepherd maniac's been loyal for years. We stayed up late, we rode every wave, but they gave it to Pat and dug Ship's grave. So we howled the moon and cursed at the sky, asking one question: why, oh why, oh why? Meanwhile, Bellotti still don't show up for work. No call, no text, just gone with a smirk. Yet Ship clocked in through the thick and the thin. Rain or shine, he'd always check in. Infinity, you broke our trust. We wanted Shep and that's a must. You picked a Boyle, but we needed flame. Now the overnights just won't be the same. Yeah, Shepherd ain't sleeping, we're twisted with rage. You skipped the vet for the new kid on stage. From the Bronx to the burbs, we're standing tall. Shepherd maniacs answer every call. So crank up the static, let the record show. There's only one man for that late night blow. Pat's got the slot, but it don't feel right, 'cause Shepherd ain't sleeping, not tonight. Shepherd ain't sleeping, we're twisted. Daily was waiting by that glowing screen, hoping night shift crown would go to the king. Ship held it down night after night, with fire in his voice and truth in his mic. But the sun comes up, it's 6 a.m. Maggie and Perloff at it again. Mike's hot, lights on, coffee's black, and Andy Rodriguez got the board on track. He's riding them faders, cutting them clips, dropping sound bites with a country twist. A light bulb Pete who vanished somehow. All we can say is, hey now, man, he's doing work. Hey now, he's still in out. Hey, what a quirk. Hey now, he's pushing buttons clean, holding it down like a well-oiled machine. No ghosting shifts, no last-minute bail. Man, he's the train, Pete's the derailed. Hey now, turn it up loud. Man, he's just a board and he's making us proud.
15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Getting closer, going.
Welcome back to the Maggie Perloff Show. Two big things on the table for you. One, a big trade this morning. George Pickens on his way to Dallas, with Dallas Cowboys getting a receiver for a third-round pick and a late-round pick swap. And then our sports great debate today. On Wednesdays, we always do this. Who would make the best just sports commissioner? Not individual sports, overall. Someone who could oversee everything, like the Pope, oversees the Catholic Church, an all-knowing, all-important person.
Oh, let me throw out one more, because we had a caller who dropped who had Al Davis, Amy Trask. I would like to nominate her.
Amy Trask.
Just all that positive energy.
Yeah.
Our friend, former president of the Raiders. We need somebody like that. Somebody who everybody loves.
She's level-headed, law degree. Never heard.
Law degree.
You got to be a lawyer, apparently. And it's funny, Manny just played the song that's the opening credits of Welcome to Wrexham.
Yep.
Someone called in to say Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney would be good. You said The Rock. So some people are just going with the straight-up star power.
Well, also
magnetism.
The Rock has a lot of sports business acumen. As I mentioned, he's on the board of directors of WWE. He is the commissioner of the UFL. You're looking at him like he's just an actor. Like, he could run for president for sure. Like, he feels like a leader, administrator type to me. I believe it or not, I know because he's a pro wrestler. Like that guy's thing is not acting anymore. He wants to run stuff.
CeeLo is here
Wait,
with
come
updates.
on. I'll be out, EJ. She's me.
No, you're definitely right that he has the ambition. I think the only thing I would disagree with is I feel like I don't know if he'd be good.
He's already. I mean, listen, he has definitely bought a league and is running that thing.
Well, yeah, and that seems to be going fine. I was talking more about like his WWE return has been a little shaky in terms of behind the scenes.
Will he ever take over the WWE? No, it's probably not, right?
No, it's Triple H.
No, it's
got it
definitely
with Stephanie McMahon.
Well, I think there's a little power struggle happening, to be honest with you. That's my opinion. But no, I can see him doing that. I mean, he's a board of director now. Ari Emanuel, obviously owns TKO, so he loves The Rock. That was his former agent, or vice versa.
Ari Emanuel might be good too.
Yeah,
or Nick Khan, who's also.
Yep.
These guys are really powerful. Stephanie McMahon, I think, would be good at Triple H.
I thought about Triple H. He was one of my other choices. The other guy I thought about too that is not anything wrestling related, but I also thought Grant Hill.
Yeah, likable, like doesn't offend anybody.
Yeah, dad's a football player, so he knows NFL a little bit.
Let's get to CeeLo's update here. What do you got, sir?
Just real quick, since it's kind of on topic, not to throw politics into the mix, I only bring this up because it's sports related. Did you catch President Trump talking Canada yesterday at all?
Oh, I did, and his favorite hockey player is from Canada, which
apparently.
is
So we'll play that for you, and then we can comment.
I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky. I mean, how good, the great one. You happen to have a very, very good hockey player right here on the Capitals, who I have a lot of respect. He is a big, tough cookie, too. Just broke the record, and he's a great guy. And, we had the team here, and I got to know a lot of the players. But now Canada is a very special place.
Okay, the guy he's referencing, of course, would be Alex Ovechkin, who obviously is
searching
not
for the
Canada.
name there, but couldn't get it. That's all right.
He's from Russia, so.
In my mind, you can make an argument that all hockey players are Canadian.
I don't know
I think
about
those
that.
who are not Canadian would push back on that a little bit.
Yeah, I just
but
feel
sure.
like if you play hockey, you're Canadian adjacent. It is the sport up there.
Is it kind of like if you're a
States
professional baseball player, you should probably speak Spanish, It's like most of the league is Spanish. You should probably know a few words.
By the way, he could have easily explained that he was talking about Tom Wilson up until that record part.
Sure. Right.
Because I think he's having a moment right now in Washington, but big tough guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kill him for this. I don't know a ton of hockey.
Kill him. It's just kind of fun.
Well, I did see the thing where he had Goodell and
Josh Harris.
And they were talking about the draft.
Yeah.
But then he got asked about Alcatraz, and then it went totally, into that direction. So now that happens a lot with presidents, right? You're there, the media's all assembled, media's got an agenda, they want to ask about stuff. But it was a little out of the blue that Trump said he wants to turn Alcatraz back into a maximum security prison. Like, I've been to Alcatraz as the museum.
Spent a night in Alcatraz.
What?
Was there from 8 p.m. till 2 a.m. shooting a promo for the Dan Patrick Show.
That sounds
crazy. Amazing.
What was it like?
It's amazing. It's the most amazing place, but it's not anywhere. It's ancient.
It's a museum.
Yeah, you have to rebuild it. No, there's a lot of empty jail cells. The whole thing's not open. But I don't even know how we got there. By the way, another, I just had another commissioner idea, and it just went out my door.
Oh, well.
There's so many that are
Ovechkin?
popping up.
The great Canadian.
Rob Gronkowski, maybe taking a little more party animal.
Noted Toronto native, Alexander Ovechkin.
Oh, man. Some guys come to Canada to play junior hockey. You could get the tie in there. That wasn't the case with Ovechkin either. So, anyway.
Also, the respecting Canada thing. I mean, didn't you say you want to make them the 51st state?
Yeah, well, that was part of, I think, where the conversation went.
Got it.
Oh, sorry. We're out of time.
I
again.
know. CeeLo, I'm sorry about this. Okay.
That's all right.
Who would make the best sports commissioner? Sports czar. Also, we got more for you on the big trade this morning. George Pickens on his way to Dallas. It's the Maggie Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break.
This is Maggie Gray with an Odyssey Sports Minute sponsored by Napa, the pros that know.
And this show always wins. No sick day swerves. No, I overslept. lost wine, tried to flirt with Lisa from accounting again, but HR warned him that's strike number 10. Oh Sam, you gotta read the room. You ain't Casanova, you're just full of booms. Where the hell is Peter Blight? Did he call in sick or win the damn lottery? Nobody's seen him since 2:15. Was it a long night or a rendezvous? Oh, Bellotti, did you ghost us for good? Or are you just stuck in your neighborhood? Sam sent an email, slurred every word. Called the boss, baby man, that's absurd. Tried to high-five, but he missed by a mile. Knocked over the coffee, still flashing a smile. Then he said, I may get too familiar too soon. I am told by HR and writing, yeah, that's getting old. Where the hell is Peter Blight? Was he trapped in traffic or hiding in the lobby? Phones keep ringing, but he won't pick up. Left Maggie and Perloff to clean this up. Lady said I may get too familiar too soon. I am told by HR and writing, yeah, that's getting old. Where the hell is Peter Blight? Was he trapped in traffic or hiding in the lobby? Phones keep ringing, but he won't pick up. Left Maggie and Perloff to clean this up. Maybe he's in Vegas, maybe he's in Spain, or maybe he just hit snooze again. Oh, Shep had a vision. He thought he was grand, thought LeBron would pick up, thought he'd make a stand. But the Lakers saw his email and let out a sigh. Is this guy for real? He must be high. Did you think you'd book the king on your weekend overnight thing? Bro, he's got rings, a yacht and a jet. You've got 3 insomniacs and 1 drug mess fan named Chet. Shep, are you serious? Did you hit your head? This ass was worse than a Knicks fan's dread. Maggie and Perloff can't stop their laughs. Rich Eisen staff make memes in your behalf. Zach Gell nearly dropped his mic. Reader said, man, this kid.
One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
What a day. We got news for you. Dallas Cowboy fans, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, this one's for you. George Pickens has been traded to the Dallas Cowboys this morning for a 2026 third-round pick, but it's Pickens and a 2026 sixth-rounder, Pearl, for a third-round pick and then a 2027 fifth-round pick. Basically what you need to know, George Pickens got traded for a third-round pick, and I Love this for the Dallas Cowboys. George Pickens needs to mature. He's certainly a hothead, but you don't give up on talent until you see what it's like when his back is against the wall. He's in a contract year. He's going to be playing for everything. His career's hanging in the balance. And if he's never going to get himself right, well, you're going to find out. And it's only going to cost you a third-round pick. Meanwhile, the upside of this is you get a wide receiver 1A for CeeDee Lamb, and now the outlook for the Cowboys is completely changed for this upcoming season.
I'm just curious, why did the rest of the NFL not seem interested in George Pickens? I keep coming back to that question.
Well, I think there's a couple reasons. I think wide receivers are getting extremely expensive. So if the guy plays well, then now you are going to have a contract on your hands. And I think that when you go, we're right post the draft, I believe that maybe a lot of teams feel like, all right, I'll get a guy in the draft and I'll develop him. But if you're the Cowboys, you're trying to win now, guys. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're paying Dak Prescott $60 million a year, you're paying CeeDee Lamb over $30 million a year, you're about to make Micah Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. This is not a rebuild. You're not tanking here. You need more weapons offensively. Give Brian Schottenheimer a chance to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders.
I totally agree. It's a really good point. But getting back to that, I do think the rest of the NFL is skeptical about George Pickens. Honestly, and I look at this in the shadow of the Jonathan Mingo trade. The Cowboys were high on Jonathan Mingo, and the rest of the NFL did not see it. I just worry that there's something off football character-wise with this guy. And you say the spotlight and the pressure of the contract might bring out the best in him. It might bring out the worst in him. And this is a team that's been prone to implode on itself when things go wrong. I just think there's a risk when things go wrong that George Pickens will be a malcontent because it seemed that way in Pittsburgh. A risk.
Certainly, but one that I don't think is going to torpedo my franchise. I'm not worried about George Pickens coming in and burning the whole thing to the ground. I've got Micah Parsons. I've got Dak Prescott. I do have strong personalities in the locker room. I know people want more from Prescott, but I do have strong personalities there. And to be honest, I think it's something we don't talk about enough when it comes to the Steelers because Mike Tomlin is so respected and rightfully so. But the Steelers are lacking leadership in terms of their locker room.
Well, I mean, compared to the Cowboys, though, yes, maybe compared to the ideal Steelers, but you can't tell me the Cowboys had more leadership in their locker room than the Steelers. Cowboys were a bad team last year.
Well, Dak Prescott got hurt and everything went off the rails. They still can't stop the run. Like, there are definite issues here with the Dallas Cowboys, but even Ben Roethlisberger called out the Steelers and said on offense,
they have no identity on offense.
They have no leaders.
Yeah, because they've gutted their offense because Tomlin wants to win with defense. And their leaders are they definitely have leaders on the defense side of the ball. I mean, I think Alex Highsmith is just watch him play. He's so 100% in. TJ Watt, I think people question because he seems like a lone wolf sometimes, but he's clearly a leader. I think defense, Joey Porter Jr. looks like he is as tough as they come. Their defense is still the Steelers' defense. Their offense has just been guck for 5 years. They should have fired Matt Canada, and I think the residuals of that are still there.
Okay, well, if I'm George Pickens, I'm like, look at the quarterbacks I've been playing with, and everyone can still see my talent. And yeah, he has the personal foul penalties, and he can be a malcontent in a head case, and you get the whole wide receiver thing, going back to his Georgia days. I understand it, but can we put him with a quarterback that's competent?
Well, I mean, okay, then just again, you're still not explaining to me why 30 teams did not seem interested. Third-round pick, you could add him for a third-round pick. Seattle side Cooper Kupp, who is injured in 32. The Rams got Devontae Adams, who's 32. There were a lot of teams that needed to pick up a receiver this offseason, and a lot of them probably said no to the Steelers.
Okay, well, why didn't everybody want to trade for DK Metcalf? Like, I could give you the same thing, and we think that's a good move.
DK went, everybody wanted. I'm sure a lot of teams wanted DK Metcalf. I'm positive. He went, as soon as you could trade for DK Metcalf, he was out the door for a second-round pick.
I'm just saying there could have been, sometimes it's need, it's fit, and it's willing to take on a guy who, is obviously got some issues. I'm not saying that George Pickens has been model teammate. Nobody would say that. But for the Cowboys, I like the risk. Now, for the Steelers side of this, what's going on here with the Steelers?
No, this was a no-brainer for the Steelers. There wasn't even an option here. They were not keeping George Pickens.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm sorry. I understand talent-wise, yes, they need that guy, but they have DK Metcalf. They need a slot receiver. Whoever's playing quarterback needs somebody to get a first down, not two guys who can run 50 yards downfield.
No, I understand, but if you're going to bring in 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, which we still think they're going to do at some point, even though apparently it's extremely complicated right now, according to one of their minority owners. But
Aaron Rodgers could get along with Garrett Wilson, who seems like the nicest guy in the world. He's going to get along with George Pickens. He doesn't like any young receiver. This is a guy he's going to like?
Yeah, but what are we talking about? We're talking about get the most out of, more than get along. And
Aaron Rodgers could get the most out of Garrett Wilson, and he's a pro.
He was busy throwing to Devontae Adams. That whole Jets thing was just wrong. But here's the thing. And there's no other way around it. That thing was spoiled. But here's the situation with Pittsburgh. 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers signals we're going for it in some type of way.
Yeah.
And I ask you, if you're going for it, if you're all in, why are you trading any talent out of the building? Why do you you wouldn't get rid of anybody for next year's draft picks? That doesn't do anything for you.
Because Pickens was not going to add to your win total. Because it just really wouldn't have worked. It would have been frustrating for everybody involved. Pickens would have been frustrated, I think. I don't think Pickens wanted to be there. He's coming up on a contract year. What do you want when you're coming up on a contract year? You want as many targets and catches as possible. You want as much production put on paper so you get to this huge deal. He would have gotten so angry if he'd come through a game in week 10 with just 2 targets. He'd be like, dude, I got to get paid. You got to throw me the ball. There's no way that was going to work.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Do you like this trade for the Dallas Cowboys? Do you like it for the Steelers? Who's winning out here? Is it an addition by subtraction for Pittsburgh? To me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, for the Pittsburgh side. On the other side of our show today, it's Wednesday, which means we do something called The Great Debate. Today's Great Debate, a Perloff exclusive. Who would be the best commissioner of all sports? Loosely based on the fact that the conclave is meeting right now at the Vatican.
The new sports pope. By the way, exclusive. This has been done before.
No, but you came up with it yesterday.
I came up with it yesterday. I think this was, and honestly, I'm going to go back to 2011 or something. Bill Simmons kind of argued that I should be the sports pope. And I get that because he's interesting as a pundit who weighs in on everything.
Right. He's got the money now, too. He could mount a really cool campaign.
Start a couple businesses.
Let's go to Derek, who's in Baltimore. Derek, what do you think of the Pickens trade, and then who should be the sports commish?
So the Pickens trade, I don't really think it's going to work in Dallas. I honestly wish that one of these betting websites could do an over/under on temper tantrums because I got it at 5.
That's the line? Is it 5? That's high. I'm going to take the under.
Listen, it is happening like 5 times. I'm already going to bet that it's like one time within the first 2 weeks. It is not going to work. Oh, man. I don't see it. And for Pittsburgh, I guess what I don't understand is, why didn't you do this before the trade? Before the draft, and actually get something for that you could use this year?
Yeah.
Maybe replace him? That would have been the thing. I don't understand.
Well, I think the reason is the Cowboys wanted to wait till after the draft to see if they could get their receiver. So they according to the report, up from 4th to 3rd after they didn't get a receiver in the draft. So that's why the Steelers waited, right?
Okay, well then that makes sense then. But as far as the Pope thing, you guys are being too politically correct. So when you first started the question, you didn't say it was any rules or guidelines, and then the callers kind of took suit like, let's be a little crazy with it.
Well, Perloff said The Rock. You think The Rock is like a middle of the road to be the sports commissioner?
Yes. People don't even know which party The Rock's going to run on. Like, yeah, he's totally middle of the road. The Rock is ubiquitous.
He calls people jabronis. He's not
What?
No.
People think The Rock, honestly, this has been a big thing that Dwayne Johnson could be president. Like that, because he's so, he crosses the aisle.
Your candy ass. Like what?
So here's mine. It's kind of going along with The Rock thing.
Okay.
Why not Stone Cold Steve Austin?
A little rough around the edges.
Here's my thing around it. This country is already crazy as is. It's already not normal. So why not have a guy in all sports, right? You can go to work and drink and cuss out your boss. Why not?
Yeah, we need more of that, Derek. Thank you for the phone call. Yeah, Stone Cold running on an all Coors Light platform. Actually, I don't know what his beer of choice is. It's something from Texas.
He has his own beer now.
Oh, he does? Sure.
In 2021, Gallup ran a poll, 46% of Americans saying they would back The Rock for president. Because obviously this has been floated a lot. he's just a guy who everybody at both sides like. I mean, he's just, I don't know how. The wrestling side, and also being a pro wrestler, obviously will keep you out of politics.
No, Jesse Ventura, yeah, for sure.
And
Linda McMahon is
people are wondering,
part of the candidate, cabinet, excuse me.
Donald Trump was in WrestleMania.
Yeah, people are wondering if we're going to go to celebrity politicians, why not The Rock? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor. I get it.
Trump wasn't a traditional politician, so I think people are wondering, okay, maybe George Clooney or whoever, actors will become president. Ronald Reagan was president.
Chargers, go!
As a person who feels like they're an expert on The Rock and all things The Rock, Miami, wrestling, all of the bit.
Yeah, what do you think?
The one thing about The Rock is he has a tendency to really want to put himself front and center.
Again, of course.
Okay, well, this would be sports commissioner.
You're saying
you need to be visible.
But
I mean,
I think
do you
it's like,
smell what the guy's cooking?
I think it's gonna he tried to take over the DC universe and make himself beat Superman.
Dude.
Like he's like in WrestleMania 2 years in a row, he wanted to kind of take over, which was bad for like a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Like,
yeah, you're right, because somebody who wants to put himself front and center could never be president of the United States.
I'm talking about commissioner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same darn thing. Like the commissioner, like I think it's like kind of like for this sports commissioner, you need a big ego.
Well, or this is our great debate today. Who would be the best just commissioner of all of sports? Do you want the person to have a big ego or humble? Like who said Grant Hill? EJ, was that you?
Yeah, I mentioned Grant Hill.
Grant Hill comes across as humble. CeeLo picked Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the petty king, but he does come across as humble.
EJ picked Dana White.
Yeah, right. At least he's actually
Not
run a
humble.
league, though. Not humble, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He never wants to put himself front and center. You never hear from Dana White. Is he even active anymore? God, he's like half the
Did he
tweets on my thing
retire?
are him talking to camera right now.
The thing about Dana, not to make this too like what would actually happen if he was the commissioner of all of sports, I can't see him jiving with the other owners. You got to the thing about it. The commissioners now of each sport work for the owners, right? They work at their favor. I can't imagine Dana ever taking direction from anybody or input from anybody. It feels like his way or the highway.
But to me, of all the sports, though, his sport is like this job would be most like being a sports czar. Because like in the UFC, like yes, he answers to Ari Emanuel and whatever, but like Ari Emanuel lets him do whatever he wants essentially. So in this job, you're a sports czar, meaning that like you're kind of taking over everything and you're making all the decisions. Yes, you have to answer to your owners, but like to me, he's most equipped than anyone else because he kind of runs independently
I know,
already.
But he also doesn't have to work with any player unions. Like he's never had to navigate those waters because UFC does not allow their fighters to unionize. So in some ways, he hasn't really dealt with the real, true nitty gritty stuff the commissioners actually have to deal with. But
I would argue
certainly
too,
a personality.
The UFC also is a different fan base, and I don't think that a lot of I have a lot of friends who are UFC fans who don't like the major sports. I think there are a lot of fight fans who are in a different lane. That is he ready to jump in and make calls for NBA, NFL, NHL immediately? He probably is. I know he is a big sports fan, but generally I think UFC is quite different than the pro sports team because they're like fights. It's like once a month. It's a pay-per-view. You're going to run the day-to-day of the MLB?
It's tricky, but the one thing I like about Dana, and again, it's not, I don't actually like about him, but in terms of running this job, is I think the fan sentiment among like player power, like fans are really against that. They feel like the players get too much power. They're taking games off. They're doing whatever they want. They're running over all of these commissioners, maybe the exception of Rob Manfred. Like it just feels like players get whatever they want. And Dana would not allow that. Like, I think if you're talking about a guy to be a champion for league owners, like, you think he's going to let a players union tell him what to do? Like, this guy, he is thick-headed in a way that may actually, for the fans, be beneficial.
Right. It's just being that, having that bulldozer kind of way just may not work with all sports. It works with UFC. 888-710-4ISN. We're asking who should be the commissioner of all sports. That's our great debate today.
Do you know that the first time Maggie and I ever got in trouble together was because of Dana White?
I made the list of top Dana White enemies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, but it was actually, again, it was me who said something. I'm like, you can't.
Excuse me.
Because there was a horrible UFC decision. The wrong guy won. It was a mistake. It was a one-off. I'm like, you can't trust some of these fights or something to that effect. Said it offhandedly, didn't even think about it. And Dana said, he ripped Maggie. Is like, it's typical of those Dan Patrick Show people trying to start trouble or something.
Yeah.
Once
again, I get in trouble for a Perloff take.
No, actually,
as if this doesn't happen enough.
It got back to us at DP Show.
And it got back to you, too. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It was because part of it was Dana was a little mad at Dan, I think.
Yeah, Dana and I have had a weird relationship.
Yeah.
It's been up and down over the years. Like that was a low moment, obviously, in the relationship.
How dare you?
There's been times when he came to SI, granted multiple interviews. I interviewed him at Mayweather McGregor after the fight, an exclusive one-on-one. I mean, we've been sort of up and down.
I feel bad. I picked an op. I don't want to pick an op.
Yeah, I think we're currently down, but to be honest, I haven't talked to him in a while.
I could care less. He has no idea who I am anymore. I'm sure he doesn't remember a thing about that.
He is a keep receipts guy.
I'm like Kendrick Lamar. You know, I don't like you popping at Maggie and Perloff. I'll inherit the beef. I'll inherit the beef with Dana White. For you guys.
Thank you, EJ.
Nah, EJ, I'd stay out.
Quickly, Gary is in Rochester. Gary, what's up? Who should be the sports commissioner, all sports?
Hello, guys. I really enjoy your show. I think you guys are the greatest.
Thank you.
I recommend Tony Dungy. I think he'd be awesome.
Can't miss with Tony Dungy.
Tony Dungy, has got the likability factor. He's got, obviously, the success, winning the Super Bowl, being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Some polarizing political takes.
Some polarizing political stuff.
You know, he is the best-selling sports author of all time. His
Tony
book,
Dungy is?
Yeah, because his book is it's about faith, and it's sold. Him and Tebow are 1 and 2, like all-time most successful sports star writers. If you think about, what would be the most famous sports book? Andre Agassi, but the Tony Dungy book was bought by churches, and it's like, it's really more of a a testament.
Yeah. What about Season on the Brink? I mean, we just had
Tony
John
Dungy
Feinstein
outsold
just
it
passed away.
By 20 times.
Well, one that's not a faith-based, like just straight
That-
sports.
that
book.
is why Dungy, yeah.
I know what it is. I bet it's Friday Night Lights. I bet Buzz Bissinger's book would probably be the bestseller sports book.
Bestseller. It's probably the most famous modern sports book. That's a great question. Let's look it up in the break.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Question, who should be the overarching, all-knowing, all-powerful sports commissioner? And secondly, what do you think about this George Pickens trade? If you're just getting going this morning, George Pickens has been traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a third-round pick. It's Maggie Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. Trying to figure out who would be the ultimate sports commissioner. It's a great debate today. A lot of weird names out there. Kevin Hart got nominated. Big fan, but and he's in a lot of DraftKings commercials.
Again, I don't trust that he wouldn't just hand everything to all things Philadelphia. Like Stephen A. Smith would say, the Knicks, I decree the Knicks win the title every year. He was the sports czar. I feel like Kevin Hart, we can't trust him.
Did you see Big Body Brunson? Did you see him?
If you go in media, it's got to be my guy, Dan Patrick. I mean, because you got to get a guy who can play, can be fair. Stephen A's too biased. Simmons would make everything Boston-oriented. Colin Cowherd would be too contrarian to be a sports commissioner. I just think that the DP is the guy.
I would have to agree with you. Level-headed. I mean, I could see also someone like Bob Lee, former SportsCenter. And
Bob Lee, yeah.
Maybe Berman.
How about a young gun like Pablo Torre or Mina Kimes?
Maybe. I could see that. A little heady, a little Ivy League action. Who's that?
Oh, Michael Wilbon.
Mike Wilbon?
Yeah.
Very respected.
Bomani Jones has a lot of fun takes. He would definitely be interested in the job. Former economics professor, knows the business side.
Buckeye Joe is in Youngstown, Ohio. Buckeye Joe, who do you think should be the ultimate sports commissioner?
Well, actually, it's a hometown guy by the name of Eddie DeBartolo Jr., the former owner of the 49ers, who has experience in business, being the mall guy that he was, the 49ers owner. He's an attorney, and obviously he had a connection to gambling.
Yeah,
He'd
so
be perfect.
If you plead guilty to a felony, does that immediately take you out of the running or not so much? Now, to be fair, he never served jail time, and he has been pardoned.
Right.
But, he had that little gambling scandal that had to do with, I think, boats on the Mississippi River, right? Gambling boats?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
Why not? Sure.
Thanks for a great show, and I hope you all have a legendary day.
Thank you. Same to you. And already the legendary spreading through the state of Ohio. That's a Shedeur Sanders connection, no?
Yeah. How about Jerry? If we're going to go with NFL owner.
Do you believe that?
No.
Jerry Jones would be a pretty fun sports commissioner. At least he'd be available for the media.
Too much.
I can't. I need less Jerry in my life,
Yeah.
not more. Quickly, Big Dave's in Kentucky. Dave, who should be the ultimate sports commissioner? What do you got?
I think it's obvious it's the great Urban Magic Johnson. I mean, obviously his basketball acumen, partial owner of the Dodgers, partial owner of the Commanders. You know, he's a great negotiator, very personable guy, brings folks together. I mean, I think it's got to be the great Magic Johnson.
Yeah, Dave, I'm kind of surprised. I thought you were going to go with Boogie Cousins on this one. No,
He's my second choice.
He's the second choice. Deputy Commissioner, Boogie Cousins, and maybe we'll throw John Wall in there. No, Dave, we know you're a big Kentucky Hoops fan. Yeah. I think, though, Magic would be great because he's like a politician in that he can shake hands and kiss babies and get things done, but doesn't have the polarizing aspect of a politician.
Yeah, I just think he's a little too plain based on his social media. I need a forward thinker. Yeah, I know, but I don't know.
Yeah, but he brings the perspective from both sides of the aisle. I mean, as a player, as an owner, and all that. But let's talk about something.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm sorry, McLevin.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was saying enough of this trivial conversation. Let's get to the important things this morning. Has anyone heard what the ransom demands are for Jerry Jones? Because it's obvious that someone took his ass and held him hostage for them to be able to make a trade like this that makes all kinds of sense in the world. But here's the thing. What the natural hell has happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers? You might want to bet that this year Mike Tomlin won't have a winning record.
Yeah, I'll take that bet.
Dave, we keep saying that. I said this. We said this 2 years ago. We said it last year, and somehow Tomlin keeps making this chicken salad. I don't know, Dave. Thank you for the call. I agree. I think this is good for Dallas. It's risky because Pickens can be a little bit of a head case, but the reward that it could potentially be is awesome. And I don't know what the Steelers are doing. I just don't.
Did you like the Chase Claypool trade when that went down?
I mean, they got a second-round pick for him, didn't they?
Yeah. Generally, did you think no for the Bears? I mean,
well,
probably everyone else did, but the same thing. We all go down the same road.
Pickens.
Claypool was Mapletron. He was awesome in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure that is obvious. Obviously, Claypool went for a high second, and Pickens went for a third. So I'm not sure you're right about that.
CeeLo, give us some updates here this morning before we get to our pal Andrew Filippone. He's going to join us from Pittsburgh to see what his reaction is. What do you got?
Sure. So the Cowboys announcing the trade, George Pickens and a 2026 sixth-round pick from the Steelers in exchange for a 2026 third-round pick and a 27 fifth-rounder. So there is your late-round swap as far as that trade from this morning goes. NBA-wise, we did quite a bit on the Warriors and their win on the road over the T-Wolves. Game one last night, 99-88. The Steph Curry hamstring injury knocking him out in the second quarter. He's got an MRI coming, unclear if he'll be able to continue throughout the course of the series. Certainly sounds very questionable for game number two. The duo of Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield combined for 44 points. Butler also 11 rebounds, 8 assists. We did the whole Batman and Robin thing earlier in the show, stepping up without Curry. Also Butler with a new nickname for Hield, which we heard a bit of earlier. And here was some more of that interaction with the two of them doing their media availability together after the game.
I respect Butter so much because he knows whatever I'm saying.
My name is Buddy.
But that's short for Buttered.
So you hear there, Hield saying, you see what I got to deal with? And we talked earlier about all the different nicknames he has. So it feels like Butler's intentionally going with one that he hasn't used in the past. So then with Butler having some fun at Hield's expense, the latter decided to volley back a bit.
We had to make sure he got his joy back because somehow he lost his joy. We're not going to say where he lost his joy, but somehow he lost his joy.
Why do you keep doing this? Do you even know what these are called? What are they called?
2 fingers. Are we done?
No.
Oh, no.
Wow.
So there was a lot between the two of them.
Yeah, they're
having
doing
some
air
fun
quotes,
back and forth.
saying?
Yeah, exactly. So
wait, so hold on one second. Now learning more. So buttered in slang is a positive, right? It means I'm seeing this like you're attractive,
No, I think he's saying but isn't he saying like, oh, the Buddy is short for butter, just make up a name.
Right, but if you combine Buddy Love and Buttered, you're also kind of now getting into a theme here that maybe he's like this kind of Don Juan, Rico Suave kind of good with the ladies.
Is that what he meant?
I don't know if that's what he meant.
Or Butters from South Park, one of the great all-time characters.
That was a different thing.
I thought when he said Butters.
I hear buttered.
It's buttered.
Buttered.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was like, oh, it must be on a roll butter kind of thing. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm just looking at the internet. It can be used to describe
Are
someone.
you on Urban Dictionary?
Urban Dictionary.
From 2003?
No, believe me, I know better than to look up anything on Urban Dictionary on a work computer. I'm trying to stay employed.
Oh, that's a work computer. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
It can mean someone is attractive, appealing, or desirable. Add that in with Buddy Love, and now you got my interest.
All right. So they didn't have your interest with their playful back and forth there. We needed to dig a little deeper.
Maybe.
That's fine.
I'm pretty sure you just nailed whatever Jimmy Butler was saying there with your internet search, Meg.
So while they're having fun, not so much on the other side. Early in the show, you played Chris Finch, critical of Anthony Edwards' performance, not leading the way. The light went off for a while, all of that. Here was Finch on his team's play, specifically on one end of the floor.
I didn't like the way we started defensively with some of the things we were doing. We haven't discussed any of that all week. Making stuff up out there. So I don't know. Didn't look like us at all. Didn't feel like us at all.
So pivot to Edwards now. Asked about some of Finch's criticism.
Nah. I feel like I played great defense. I just couldn't do nothing on offense. So yeah.
So not a great start for them. Road teams, though, 0-5 thus far here in round 2 of the playoffs because you had the Pacers with their big comeback. I know we're out of time. Didn't even get to Tyrese Haliburton's game winner.
I know.
And the voice change again in the post game. Maybe you guys can do that
People
next
say that
segment
all
or
the
something.
time.
He had another voice change
He did,
last night?
mid-sentence, yeah.
Oh, my gosh, I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
Yeah.
And hit a game winner, as you said, second of the postseason for Tyrese Haliburton. Amazing. CeeLo, thank you. Fantastic job all morning long. Let's turn our attention now to our pal Andrew Filipponi, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. We get the big trade this morning, Pony. George Pickens is out of there. He's on his way to Dallas. How does this look from the Steelers' perspective?
It looks great. I mean, I don't know if I'm as happy as Lepresti after that Knicks win in game 1, but no, I'm on.
Oh, we lost you. Pony, what happened? Okay. I just hope he didn't drive off into the Monongahela.
I honestly can't tell. Was he being sarcastic or really good?
I don't know. We got
it looks great.
Keep talking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? I was waiting. I was dying to hear his next sentence to hear if he really likes us or not.
It's just funny to me because the Dallas side of this George Pickens trade seems pretty obvious. Either you think, yes, this is the thing that Dallas has been coveting now for a couple years, which is finding that obvious number 2 to CeeDee Lamb. Okay, here you go. High risk, but high reward. From the Pittsburgh side of things, a lot more murky, right?
Really? I feel like everyone knew Pickens was going to trade. People were shocked that they held on to him.
But where does it leave you? I think is the question because I think that we're
They have
expecting.
DK Metcalf.
Okay, who's throwing passes to him?
That it doesn't matter if Pickens is there or not. That is irrelevant to that actual question. Whether Pickens is there or not, you still have Mason Rudolph as number 1 on the depth chart.
No, but if Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback at 41 years old, why are you trading away any talent in a clearly go for it season? Rodgers not a long-term solution. You're lucky if you get a healthy year out of him. That's it.
Yeah, I just don't think they view this as we're trading away meaningful talent. I mean, he's definitely a talented player, but when they got DK Metcalf, that was very, very specifically to replace George Pickens.
Yeah. All right, let's head back to Pittsburgh. Again, our pal Andrew Filipponi, 93.7 The Fan. We thought we lost you in the Monongahela, Pony. What do you think of the trade from a Pittsburgh perspective?
Very good with your Rivers knowledge there, Maggie. No, I love it. It's a tremendous trade. I am on cloud 9. I think it's a great day for the Steelers. I think it maybe foretells or foreshadows a move that could help the franchise get its long-awaited quarterback solution now that Ben Roethlisberger's retired. And by the way, George Pickens is just not worth the trouble. It's one of the dumbest moves I've ever seen the Cowboys make. It's typical Jerry Jones because all the reporting right now is they're going to bring him in and ask him to behave without a new contract.
Yeah.
And that was the crux of the issue here with the Steelers from what I've been told. And I can't fathom how that gets any better in Dallas this year.
Well, actually, I kind of like hanging the carrot out there for him, Pony, and see, make him work for it a little bit. I don't mind this from the Dallas side, but just back on the Pittsburgh side, you love this. Are you still under the impression that they're bringing in Aaron Rodgers to the Pittsburgh Steelers? And if so, do you want to have him have the most weapons possible?
Well, they are. They absolutely believe he's going to sign. I still have an incredible amount of doubt because he isn't signed yet, and we know how fickle Rodgers is and how flaky and mercurial he is. So I don't know why they're putting all their eggs in that basket. I know they've told players who have shown up for voluntary workouts that Aaron Rodgers will be their quarterback. I don't think Aaron Rodgers wanted to play with George Pickens. I don't think it's a coincidence that he went and threw to DK Metcalf. He did not throw to George Pickens. He, in interviews about coming to the Steelers, never once mentioned Pickens. I'm, of course, referencing that Pat McAfee conversation. And given the way Aaron Rodgers interacted last year with guys like Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, knowing the personality of George Pickens, I think Aaron Rodgers would have thrown him off the practice field 1 week into training camp in Latrobe. So I think he has no issue. And you know what it does, Maggie? It paves the way for him to get one of his former friends here, maybe an Alan Lazard. Maybe they dust off Randall Cobb. Maybe they pulled James Jones off of TV. I don't know. But, I don't think Aaron Rodgers has a problem whatsoever with this trade.
Pony, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Steelers through the years, and I believe GM Omar Khan's been there over 2 decades, they always draft risky wide receivers in later rounds, and then they pawn them off to some unsuspecting team. I feel like I've seen this movie before. San Antonio Holmes, and obviously Chase Claypool most recently, Antonio Brown. I guess, but isn't this a thing? They get late round receivers and they don't work out elsewhere. Is that a thing that you've noticed before?
Well, in this case, it's not a late round one because it's second round. But yeah, I mean, going back to Santonio Holmes, Super Bowl MVP, post something very derogatory on Twitter, and that was the last straw for the Steelers organization. They traded him to the Jets, and that trade with the picks they got back, that ultimately paved the way for them to use a late-round pick on Antonio Brown, and then he eventually got traded to the Raiders. Martavis Bryant got traded to the Raiders. Chase Claypool got traded to the Bears. So these guys hit their expiration point. George Pickens is, in my opinion, one of the greatest waste of talents in NFL history. I think if he really put his mind to it, he could be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I don't think there's 5 wide receivers in the league that have more natural ability than him. I just don't think the light bulb's ever going to go on for him. And I think he makes an amazing catch that everyone sees on social media once a month, maybe more, and people's jaw hit the floor and they're like, wow, this guy's amazing. But then probably twice in that game, he'll do things that every wide receiver is expected to do, like, I don't know, run a route and not give away the play at the line of scrimmage with his body language because he knows it's a running play and he's not getting the ball. So I say good riddance. It is frustrating, Perloff, that they gravitate towards these guys and they get credit like, hey, they got the most out of them, but the guys don't sign second contracts and they don't win here. So I don't really get why there's praise for constantly courting these guys. And yeah, they're semi-productive here, but they don't last very long with the Steelers. It's kind of an odd phenomenon that the media plays nationally with Mike Tomlin and the way he handles these types of wide receivers.
Wait, when they drafted George Pickens, I looked at him and said, oh, this is a first-round talent who fell to the second round for some reason. When he got to the building, was there already discussion about, hey, we don't know about his football character? Has that always been a thing for him, or did it develop?
It was definitely something that I think caused his draft stock to slip to the second round. I don't think it was the ACL injury, everything I was told. I mean, I'll put it this way. There's a team that played in the Super Bowl this past season that didn't even have Pickens on their draft board. They had labeled him basically radioactive, nuclear. We don't want to draft the guy under any circumstance, even if he were to slip to day 3. That's how much of a potential problem they thought he was from a personality and attitude standpoint. So that's the risk reward the Steelers constantly play at this position. And there were times where it looked like Mike Tomlin was getting through with George Pickens. And then you had games like the Bengals game at the end of the year where he dropped 4 balls and tried to fight a fan in the crowd, and Pat Freiermuth basically had to pull him away. and Russell Wilson had to talk to him constantly during the game. I know someone who works for an NFL television crew who does games on Sundays who has said repeatedly to me, in their times of being on NFL sidelines, they've never seen a team, in terms of coaches and players, have to talk to a player to try to make sure his head is screwed on straight more than the Steelers have had to do with George Pickens the last 2 years. So, hey, now he's the Cowboys' problem, and we'll see what the Steelers can do with all these picks next year.
Andrew Filipponi is joining us, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Last one from me, Pony, and thanks for doing this last minute because obviously the trade just went down this morning and wanted to get your thoughts on it in the Pittsburgh side of it. You mentioned you don't think Rodgers, who we believe is still coming to Pittsburgh, wanted to play with George Pickens. You said you think Rodgers would have thrown him off a practice field in the first week of training camp, to bring in one of his own guys who the fans are going to want to throw off a practice field in the first week of training camp. So it's not like you're not going to be frustrated with one of the Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb thing. How did Rodgers get potentially this much power? And I'm not saying that the Steelers didn't want to part ways with Pickens for their own reasons that you just nicely articulated. But how does Rodgers have any say over personnel when he's not even in the building yet?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you why that is, Maggie, because Mike Tomlin has told people he believes the Steelers can contend and compete for a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. He has that in his head. I think he's nostalgic. I think he's thinking back to Super Bowl 45. I think he's thinking back to previous encounters with Aaron Rodgers, not last year when the Steelers drugged him at home and he threw 2 interceptions to an undrafted free agent corner in that game and they got blown out. Mike Tomlin believes that Aaron Rodgers is the missing piece, and he's made concessions, and he's made admissions that his discipline or the way he treats players differs based on how talented he thinks you are. For example, Ben Roethlisberger was really not a lead by example guy. He was not first one in, last one out. He was the antithesis to Tom Brady as far as that went, but Mike tolerated it because Ben's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Antonio Brown would stay off campus at training camp. He'd show up late to practice. He'd bring like his own TV crew, filming crew with him. And Mike Tomlin put up with it because when he was at practice, no one worked harder and no one played better than Antonio Brown. So I think Mike Tomlin, Maggie, to answer your question, is treating Aaron Rodgers like he's 31 and not 41.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's getting an all-time great quarterback still in his prime, whereas the evidence in the last few years suggests otherwise. So that's why he's acting this way. And I am stunned that you think the Cowboys got a good deal here.
I do.
Maggie, I can't believe that.
Yeah, they needed to take a swing. Is it high risk, but it's potentially high reward if George Pickens actually gets his head on straight?
She said that that Jonathan Mingo was the next Michael Irvin a few months ago.
I did not.
She did not.
Hey, guys, I'll make a prediction right here with you.
Yeah.
Much like Deontay Johnson, who when the Steelers traded him to Carolina, ended up, getting his passport punched by like 5 teams last year because he couldn't stick. I think there's a better chance George Pickens gets traded again before this fall's NFL trade deadline than he catches, let's say, 50 balls and has 700 yards in Dallas.
Wow.
Remember that.
Okay.
Mark that one down.
I will mark it down. You're on the record. I'm just saying I don't mind the process. I don't mind the process by which they got here. Yeah, I don't know what George Pickens is going to do. You don't know. None of us know. But I don't mind the thought process.
Pony sounds like he knows.
And I'm the first person to dump on the Cowboys all the time. I got to give credit where it's due, though. But, Pony, you're the best. Thank you for doing this. You can listen to Andrew Filipponi, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Going to be a big day for you, Pony. Have fun with it.
See you guys. Always the best. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay, we are talking about this trade. Love to see where the Pittsburgh side of this lands, which is good riddance, goodbye to George Pickens, which I understand.
The word nuclear was just used.
Yeah. Whoa. We're also asking you our great debate today. Who would make the best sports commissioner? All of sports. They're making the rules. You tell us. 888-710-4ISN.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie Perloff Show. So it's been a big day because the Dallas Cowboys traded with the Pittsburgh Steelers for George Pickens. Third-round pick, essentially what you need to know. So a new chapter for George Pickens in Dallas, but can he make the most of it? We're also asking you, who would be the best sports commissioner? Just every sport, they're in charge. They're making the rules. Sort of based off the conclave now meeting about a new pope was the inspiration for this one for Andrew Perloff. Let's go to Nahan, who's in Boise. What's up, Nahan?
Hi, guys. Thank you for taking the call. You guys make the morning commute bearable. I'll take your comments off the call, but my pick for the ultimate commish, Snoop Dogg. I feel like he became America's uncle during the last Olympics and possibly even the world. So
he's a strong candidate.
Yeah, Nahan, I like it. We had not thought of Snoop Dogg.
We should have. I mean, he was the face of the Olympics.
Knows a lot about dressage now.
Yeah.
Is he too stoned to be the commissioner of all sports?
He's already kind of running all sports, or at least at all sports. I don't think it matters anymore.
He does have that like Pee Wee football league. Maybe it's not Pee Wee, actually. It's a little more serious than that. It's C.J. Stroud came out of that.
Juju
few other guys.
Smith-Schuster credits his whole career to Snoop Dogg.
What about Dominic, who's in San Francisco? And also Snoop could perform at every single All-Star game. Dom, who do you have? Who should be the ultimate sports commish?
Good morning, Maggie and Perloff. Thank you for taking my call. No more celebrities, please.
Okay.
We want somebody knowledgeable, somebody that's around sports all the time. I've got a conundrum. I've got a tie. So we're going to have a co-commish and a commish. So I've got Rachel Nichols and Aaron Andrews.
Rachel Nichols and Aaron Andrews. Okay, so you're going the media route.
Is Nichols
knowledgeable?
Yes.
I'm going to play against that. Rachel Nichols has always been about one sport, though. Can she do all sports?
Absolutely. Can Snoop Dogg?
Yeah, also, she did cover the NFL. And,
she covered the NFL, too.
And everything. And to be fair...
But she's really deep in NBA
Well, now she is, definitely. And Aaron Andrews did cover baseball for a long time, college football, of course, and she even started out in hockey. I think they'd be fine. I guess if I was going to go just for a woman, we mentioned Amy Trask because she's got CEO, she's got the leadership qualities. Condoleezza Rice is somebody who's obviously
been mentioned as NFL commissioner candidate.
Yeah, very, very famous in that way.
Daughter of a coach.
I mean, do we just go with the Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi? I mean, it's amazingly entertaining when they do the NCAA tournament on the women's side.
No, it's definitely not Taurasi. We need some statesmanship here. She's way too honest.
Too lit.
Yeah. She's too lit, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Sue Bird. I don't think we want Diana Taurasi speaking her mind on all these sports.
Simone Biles.
Simone? Yeah. I mean, sure. Right? She's an athlete. I'm wondering if, EJ, you said Hannah Storm going also the media route. Hannah's been around for a while, icon, legend.
Yep.
And I think Hannah has a good head for this. Linda Cohn, obviously one of the GOATs as far as women are concerned in sports broadcasting.
How about like an agent?
Nicole Moss.
Lynn.
Nicole Lynn, excuse me.
Yeah. More on the business side. There are actually a lot of women NFL executives on the rise too.
How about Jaden Daniels' mom? Can she maybe put her hand in the ring?
I think she's only literally the commissioner of one person, Jaden Daniels, because we found out that she was going on dates with Jaden Daniels and his date, like as a chaperone.
Serena Williams is retired now. She has some time.
Does she have the temperament?
No.
You get one bad call against you, she might threaten to shove a tennis ball up your...
She'll grip work on your grave like she did Drake.
Yes,
I forgot. Be serious.
I forgot you.
You notice I did not mention John McEnroe for this.
By the way, I think 10 years ago, Drake, because he was involved in every sport. Not so much today.
Could have been. EJ Stewart, thank you. Manny Rodriguez, thank you. Chris Lopresti did a great job today. Andrew Kaplan, the man behind the scenes. Thank you to the Weedos, the coffee drinkers, the callers, and Andrew Filipponi. See you tomorrow.